Okay, very warm welcome to each one of you. It's now exactly 1 minute past 9, and I want to say good morning to each one of you. I know it's a cold morning in different parts of the country, so we're grateful that you have taken the time to start with us on this early morning Saturday. It's my pleasure at this time to welcome you back to week two, the second session of our training. And if you were with us last week, you know that we had a great time together. You'll have very engaging session and some good reflections on what the tools are and how it can be used specifically in the teaching and learning environment. That's quite exciting, and we were actually happy to have such a good response last week, and we're looking forward to many of you having a much more engaging session this week as well. And we see the numbers are slowly increasing, and I'm sure as we continue, it'll pick up as well. We have a bit more colleagues with us today, and it's my pleasure to introduce you back with some of our colleagues. So you know by now, you should be familiar with Richard Wright, who is one of the facilitators, David Apperstad, one of our other facilitators. So we've got two core facilitators. And then we have colleagues from the UNISA environment that have also joined us who are in charge of the digital access centers, plus members of the Adobe unit as well. We got Amanda, Sophie, Dr. Sheila, Maria, Pintius, Chantel, and we'll find a few others that are also going to join us in the course of the day. So thank you very much to the colleagues from Edo for waking up early on this Saturday morning and joining us. Let me just quickly set some context for us for today's session. As you see from the program on the screen, we have quite an exciting session set up for today. So we know that, as you've seen last week, that technology is really making an impact in terms of how we teach, in terms of how we learn, as well as how we optimize much of the tasks that we do in terms of our daily lives. Now, to make most of this workshop, it's essential to equip yourself with the right set of productivity tools. And we've started last week with some of the productivity tools, and we're going to pick up a bit more this week in terms of the productivity tools. In this training sessions with our colleagues, Richard and David, we will explore a variety of tools designed to enhance your productivity and optimize your learning journey. And if we're looking at and if we reflect on some of the challenges that students have noticed, time management was a critical element for many students. How do I find a way to balance my work life, my studies, personal life, family life? And we want to expose you to some of the tools that will speak to this as well. Organization, note taking. We will talk about collaboration and communication. And I know this is also an important one for many of you. And then we'll also look at we've got issues on file management. And this is quite important on how we set up tasks and how we manage our studies, as well as habit optimization. If we look at some of these tasks, for example, the idea of file managing, the idea of note taking organization. If you in the study field, you know that the critical skill is organizing. And we want to show you some of the digital tools today. And you've also got my colleague Richard just jumped onto the next slide, and you can see email and calendar management as well. These are really core tools for you to manage. Now, you don't really need a separate course on how to manage time. The idea here is look at the digital tools that we're going to expose you to today, build your capacity on, and start integrating that more strategically as part of your learning process. So once again, it's my pleasure to invite you, and I'm hoping that as we continue the session, you're really going to engage with us on the chat. You should be familiar with the chat now. I see many of you have already started to post up on the chat, so welcome and good morning. You're also familiar with the icons and how to raise your hand, how to send up some of the emoji icons to show that you are agreeing and have consensus with us. So please, we look forward to this engaging session, and I know the colleagues on the group as well are with us and ready to support you as part of this. So thank you very much. Welcome to each one of you, and let me hand over to our excellent facilitators for the day, Richard and David. Thanks, Richard.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Denzel. So yes, please make use of the chat. We do have to go have a lot of material that we have to go through. So we will be providing you support in the chat. But remember, all the material is also available online. So just some ground rules before we start. As mentioned, post questions in the chat. If you can assist the other students, there is quite a lot of students that join. And so please, help where you can. And then also be respectful of others' opinions. Everybody is coming from a different level of expertise. So we really want to build you up from ground to being a pro at the end. And then obviously, as we have to, have a certain time period, some of the things we won't be able to reiterate too much as we will have to continue through the program. But please note that the recordings are made available. So if you miss anything, you can always pull back on the recordings. I'm just quickly going to introduce, just share my camera so that you can see it's not an AI yet that's at the back of this. So morning everyone, my name is Richard Wright. I'm from the Western Cape region. Currently it's a very cold 5 degrees. So hopefully we can warm up during the session. So I'm just going to ask David as well to quickly introduce himself.
Good morning, students. I'm sitting in Polokwane, and it's also freezing cold here this morning, but yes, looking forward to today's session.
Thanks, David. So we're just going to start off with an overview again, as we did last week, especially for those that perhaps are joining for the first time. So last week we really started with, digital citizenship. How do you safely navigate online? How do you have tools available for you to use to access the different platforms? Today we're going to be starting to look at some of these apps that's available under Microsoft 365 and build up your skills, on the apps. Where would you use them? How do you use them? And this is really to build you up for session 3, where we're really going to deep dive in collaboration apps, really the productivity apps such as Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. So we're really, in the next session, the last session, we're going to have to work quite fast because we're going to cover quite a lot. But we really want to use today's session to already get you into how it's going to be, especially for the last session, but also learn some fundamental skills that you can use within your online studies. So for those that joined last week, we just gave an overview of my UNISA, my modules. We then delved into digital citizenship. How do you work with computers? How do you access information online securely? And then we introduced you to the Office 365. Currently, it's all grouped under Microsoft 365. And then also how to use your Microsoft Edge for education. Now, I just want to note here with the Microsoft Edge for Education, we did update the activity. So please go and have a look at the update activity if you have not done so yet. It really takes you step by step on how to do research very easily with Microsoft Edge with the tools available. So today we're just going to get started with Microsoft 365. Just to let you quickly log in again, make sure you've got access before we delve into Flip. So Flip is just the introductory activity, but you will actually learn some fundamental concepts that we will be using throughout the course, especially, what is a group, how do you join a group, and how do you share your video. Then we're going to have a look at you working with OneDrive. How do you save files to your OneDrive? How do you share files from your OneDrive? And also, what is the difference between OneDrive, say, online versus the one that you might have on your desktop? And then we're going to have a look at OneNote. So this is a great note-taking app that you can use to really almost think of it as a binder where you can save all your information for quick access. So while you're studying, you can have a binder for your modules, for instance, and all the information as you do assignments, you can just pop it in there, and it's available then on your mobile phone, or if you log into it on a computer, it will sync up. So it's always there. And then finally, you all know that your MyLife email is your official UNISA email address, and this is actually run on Outlook. So here we're going to have a look at Outlook, how to properly compose an email, how to send an email, especially how to check if some emails are perhaps in the junk folder, and also have a look at rules, just to make sure that there's no rules set up on your email accounts, so that you perhaps deletes your emails at the background, and also forwarding. If forwarding, how do you set up it correctly if you want to use another email account? Then, as mentioned, next week we're going to really deep dive into start off with Word. How do you do an assignment document on Word online? So it's page numbering, basically all that you need to know. How to create a portfolio with Sway, and this is a nice tool. It's almost like you can use it for a blog, or you can for portfolios, and all of this can be made publicly available. So you're almost building like your own website. And then we're going to have a look at PowerPoint. So this will be really how you can create a PowerPoint very quickly with the Smart Designer. to assist you. So if you've got a topic, how you can make professional looking PowerPoint presentations. And then we'll just do introduction to Teams. What is Teams? How do you join a team? And also, how do you create, for instance, a team meeting if you need to meet up with fellow students? And through all of this, we will be looking at the accessibility tools, especially the immersive reader, the tools that's built in to really make it a lot easier to consume information. Okay, so firstly, especially if you are a newly registered student, remember you first have to claim your MyUnisa login details from MyUnisa. Once you claimed your UNISA logins, you will be given a MyLife email account, and that usually takes about a few hours to activate after you claimed your MyLife or MyUnisa logins. So please make sure that you have done this already. The steps are also provided on the ADOBH platform. And secondly, you do need access to a Microsoft 365 account. So if you're perhaps not a UNISA student joining today and you also want to follow along, remember you can use a free Office account as well. So it doesn't need to be a paid one. But remember, all the UNISA students, you get Microsoft 365 for free, and you've got all these apps included with it. All you need to do is at office.com, you just log in with your student number at mylife.unisa.ac.za. So just remember that end is at mylife.unisa.ac for academic.za. And remember, you will always use your MyUnisa password. So if you change your MyUnisa password, it will change for your Microsoft 365 account as well. So the first site that I do want you to open is the course site that we will be using. I will post a link in the chat as well. Let me just quickly paste it over. So it's very important that you do have access to this link. So if you're going to open up this link in your browser, so if we visit the platform, let me just quickly type it in here. So it will take you to a page where you perhaps have to tell you have to log in. So it will basically look like this. So all that you need to do is press continue. Here you can say if you're a UNISA student or not. If you're not a UNISA student, you can click on no and create an account. But if you're already a UNISA student, all you need to do is click on yes. You click on use my UNISA email account. And then you log in. So it will ask you then for your MyLife email address and your MyUnisa password. So you should have this page open. So it's very important as we go along, all the instructions are on here. So while I'm actually on this page, I just want to show you with the web browsing and research that we did last week. Please complete this activity, do research on a topic with Edge and Bing. There's some step-by-step guidelines, how you can actually create a collection, search for information, do automatic referencing using different styles, and then also exporting your collections to a Word document. So I see there is a few that has started with this already. So Shoni and Lesiva, thank you. You guys are already, I see, on board. So remember, if you complete the activities, all the activities, you can get a Microsoft 365 certificate from Microsoft. So remember, this was covered last week, so please make sure that you have gone through these aspects. So the first one we can start off with is just the main page. And the first one that we're going to be doing is under Introduction to Digital Skills. And we're going to be doing this flip activity. So already I'm going to post a link to this, the link to the activity in the chat. Make sure you can open it. If you're using a mobile phone, please take this time so long to download the app to your mobile device, because if you're using mobile device, you will need to use the app. But if you're on a laptop, you can just follow along when we do this activity. So also very importantly, So also to make sure that you've completed the online form. So this is just almost like a pre-assessment to rate your skills, since we know where are you currently, what are the areas that we can perhaps focus on in the future to really support you to master all these tools that's available to you. So I'm also just quickly, while we are here, to show you on this getting started section. So for instance, please go through this. If you have not claimed your MyUnisa password, the steps are there. If you need the steps how to access your Microsoft 365 account, it's on here and it's step-by-step video. But essentially, all you need to do, and I want everybody to have the second tab open already, is for office.com. All you need to do is just type in office.com. It will load office.com, the web page. And all you need to do is click on sign in. And then once you sign in here, remember to use your MyLife email account, or if you've got a personal account, a free account, you can always use that as well, as you will have access to most of the activities that we will be hosting. So remember, this is what we covered last week as well. Make sure you've got access to your Microsoft 365 account and that you've got access to all these apps that's available on here. So remember, if you do not have all these apps, say it only shows Outlook and say the calendar, just let us know in the chat and we can give you the link on where you should get your license. But essentially, you should be seeing all these apps. You should not just be seeing calendar and Outlook. You should see all this OneDrive, lists, Power apps that's available to you through your Microsoft 365 account. So remember, today we're going to be looking at Flip, and then we're going to delve into OneDrive. We're going to look at OneNote, and then also Outlook. Then next week, we're going to delve into Sway, Teams, Word, and PowerPoint Online. So next week, we're going to cover quite a lot of information. And this week, we're really going to set the ground so that you make sure that you've got access to all of this, know how these documents are working. So next week, we just delve into the productivity features. Okay, so the first one, as I mentioned, please have this Flip activity open already. The link is in the chat. So on this activity, this is what we're basically gonna be doing. I'm just gonna paste the link in the chat again if you missed it perhaps. So we're gonna give an introduction to what is Flip, but really this is just to like a warm-up activity. And it's also, get some fundamental concepts of what is a group and how do you join a group. So first, let's have a look at Flip. What is Flip? So Flip, for those that are perhaps, know social media, maybe you've used TikTok before or even Facebook. So Flip is really like a short way of how you can do video responses to a topic. So it's really a discussion platform, but it uses more video for you to actually illustrate something or to give a message quickly to your lecturers. The academics are currently implementing this in various ways, especially with languages. So for instance, say you're doing English and you're perhaps having problems with pronunciation. A good activity will be where you can go upload a video, your academic, and then give you feedback on what's the correct pronunciations. Or you can even discuss a topic where you can perhaps showcase something through this Flip videos. And it's very short and it's in the app, so it's very easy to use as well. I'm just quickly going to play this short introductory video.
Get started on Flipgrid in 3 easy steps. Step 1, join the discussion. Use the join link or enter the join code that was shared by your educator. Ta-da! You're in. Step 2, record a video with your response to the prompt. Use any of the Flipgrid camera tools and feel free to get creative. Explore, have fun, be yourself. Yeah, even like that. Then step 3, take a selfie and submit your video. That's it. It's that easy to complete an assignment in Flipgrid. Now watch the comments in your classmates' videos come in and the discussions take off. Let's start learning together.
So really, this is a place where you can share your voice, where you can interact with other students. And, you know, you can upload the videos. It's very short. You can edit them online, so it makes it very easy to use. But what I really want you to take away from this is how you're going to now join a group and then also participate in that group, because these are the concepts that we're going to be using quite a lot in the future, especially when we get to even OneDrive, when you share files with a group, or when you on Microsoft Teams, when you create a group, team members where you collaborate. So this really sets the groundwork just to get the fundamental concept of how do you access a group and how you participate in a group. So for this activity, I see there is somebody saying that they are having a bit difficulty logging in. So just make sure you've got your MyLife account, that you log in with your MyLife account. I'm also going to put in an email address here. So if you've got, for instance, screenshots, so if you can just take a screenshot of the errors that you perhaps received, just send it to this email address. It's adovh.unisa.ac.za. Thanks, David. So just please, if you're having problems, remember to share the screenshots to this email address so we can assist you. I see there's also somebody that says poor network connection. So remember, we are going to upload the recording to YouTube as well. So if you miss anything due to network, you can always catch up. So I think that's actually, you know, I'm going to share quickly the direct link to the recordings as well. So the recordings are uploaded under the recordings tab. So if you go to the main page, you just scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll see there's recordings. And then we've got currently the Saturday sessions that we are doing now. So here we've got the recordings where you can watch it. It's on YouTube, so it should use a little bit less data than if you're following along live on Teams. But we also at the bottom put the activities that you needed to complete during this session. So next week we will upload the next video, and then all the activities, actually for this week, this is the links to all the activities, but we will upload the video here as well. And then for the final session that we will be doing next week. So for this activity, you should have Flip open. So as we mentioned, if you're using a mobile device, you will need to download the Flip app. So you get a link is provided there for Android and iOS. So I'm just going to take you through the steps of how to do this specific activity. So the first thing that you need to do is open the group. So we click on this link. So you'll see it's got a group code. And this is very important, you know, when we're going to get to teams as well, you're going to join with codes. So once you create a team, you usually get a group code that you can provide to others that they can join. Or sometimes you can also get a link, for instance, this one that takes them directly to the page. So once you open up this link, you should log in, continue with Microsoft. So remember, we're using Microsoft accounts. So click on Microsoft. And then remember to select it's a work or school account, not a personal account. So this is a work or school account. And then you must type in your MyUnisa password. Remember just to make sure that your email is correct. It's your student number at mylife.unisa.ac.za. And then there's always, if this is your personal account or device, you can select, you know, don't show this again and remember me. If you're perhaps connecting through a digital access center today, or you're using perhaps a library or a computer center device, remember rather to say no and to log out at the end. So here we can just say yes, since this is my personal device. So this will open up the activity. So you'll notice here we've got our group that we now joined. So the group is STU 400, Basic Skills in Microsoft 365. There are 2 activities. So at the end, there's actually a reflection activity as well. But the one that we're going to be doing is the introduce yourself. So just make sure you've got this one selected. So this is very easy activity. I see there's already people actually providing videos as well. So what you need to do here is just provide a short recording where you just introduce yourself and also say perhaps why are you doing this specific course. So all you need to do is click on record. It should open if it's on the app. It will open on the app. If it's on your computer, it will open up in the browser. Just very important, it will ask you for access to your microphone and your camera. So for you that wrote exams already using a Moodle proctoring might be familiar with this, where it pops up to ask for access to your camera. So remember to select allow here to allow access. And then this will then open up your camera. So remember, you can always add some, I'm going to say, some lenses as well. So I can make it really fun, while we are doing this. Sorry, just quickly do this. So you can really play around with, everything that is on here. And then all you need to do is with the video, once you're ready, you click this big button here in the middle. So that is your start recording button. So all you need to do here is just select, say, hello, everyone. My name is Richard Wright. I'll be guiding you through the course today. This is the introductory activity, and I'm really excited to teach you Microsoft 365 because it's not just going to help you with your online studies, but also with your work career one day. So yes, so I hope we're going to have a lot of fun. And then once you're done, you just click on stop the recording. And then here at the bottom right, you'll see there's a next button. So just click on the next button, and this will then just select edit. Say, hello, everyone. My name is Richard Wright. So this will just give you where you can now actually edit it. You can add some music to really make it fun. And then once you are happy with what you have recorded, you can always go back and re-record it if you want to. And then once you're done, you just press next, and you can give it a, how can I say, just a caption. So I'll just say, yeah, Richard introduction. And there you go. And then you can post your topics. So it's as easy as that. So you basically, through the session, you joined a group and you participated in the group. So once you're done, you can copy this link. So we can share this video, can create a link for us. We can copy this link. And then this is what we add into this activity over here. So all you need to do is with the main page open, the forum, click on the top reply. So this is the one here at the bottom right. You can just quickly open it up. Just to make sure that you can see it clearly. So if you've got the activity open, so at the bottom right, just take this off here. You can really see it. Might be a bit too big. Okay, let me just open up this space here. Close this one. So if we go here, just look for reply. So that link that we now copied from the page, all we do is just paste it in here. And then we can post to forum. But I just want to show you, if you perhaps don't, or if you miss this step where you can copy the link, say you clicked accidentally, you go to topics before you copied the link and generated the link, you can always just copy the URL from your video. So here you can see this is now my video that I posted. I can just copy the link from here. Hello everyone. And I can then go back to the activity and post this link as well. So here we go. There is two links to methods of sharing that video. So for this activity, all you need to do is just do a quick introduction so that we know you've got access to your Microsoft 365 accounts and that you know exactly how to join groups through links and then participate online as well. So once you're done, you just post it to the forum. And then this activity is basically done. So please, in the background, while we're doing the introductions, do this in the background, complete the activity. I see somebody is asking for the join code. Let me just quickly get you the join code. Let me just go here, flip. Let's go join code. So if it's asking to join through a code, use the code that's in the chat. So there is this join code as well. So you can always, as I mentioned, you can use the link that's provided in the activity, or you can access it through the join code as well that we now posted in the chat. And you'll notice the join code is actually the last bit of this URL. So that's two methods of joining it. So while we're doing the, the theory sides of the topics to come, remember at the background, you can always complete this activity. You can also do this afterwards, before next week. So please do those activities as we are going along. So with that activity, while you are busy, I just want to, how can I say thank you to the people that completed the forum activity from last week. These are the winners from last week's activity. So congratulations to Bridget, Jacqueline, and Thompson. We will be in touch with you to courier your prizes to you. So for this week, we also have an activity. And this will be the one for the prizes. Remember, during the sessions, we do have various questions. So in this question, we will post a link now to the specific form that you need to fill in. So if for the first three that will complete this form, you will get some branded UNISA items. And I'm just quickly going to copy the form for you. There we go. So answer this question in the chat. There is a link. You just open up the link in the chat. Let me just quickly show you. So on this link, click on this link. It will open up your browser. And then here, you just need to insert your student number, your email, your name and surname, postal address. But most importantly, how do you think Flip can benefit you in your online learning? Creating communities, reaching out to your lecturer, all of these things that you can consider. So just answer this question, submit it, and then you can also stand a chance to be the winners for this week's questions. So in the chat, just click on the link, complete the form while we're even doing all the other topics, and then we will get in touch with you. But there will be some other activities as well where we ask questions for you to complete in the chat. But now I think we all deserve just a 180-second break before we delve into the next topic of OneDrive. So I'm going to set up a timer here. So go grab a cup of coffee. I see it is starting to warm up, hopefully on your side as well. And then we can join in 3 minutes. So I'll just start the timer here so that you also know that we will be back in 3 minutes. Remember, if you use this sessional time as well to do the activity perhaps, and if you perhaps have any questions, just post them in the chat, and then we can support you from there. Okay, everyone, I hope you are back. So for the next section, I'm going to hand over to Denzel and David for OneDrive, something that is very important for you to understand your online place to save all your documents securely. So with that, over to David and Denzel.
Thanks very much, Richard. Colleagues, let me just quickly sort this out. Okay, so thank you very much, colleagues. Now, you know the importance of OneDrive for us. I think Richard actually mentioned this right at the beginning for us, if you were here last week, the importance of moving away from USB devices. Can I quickly check? How many of you are still using USB devices? If you are still using USB devices, put a thumbs up or some kind of emoticon so we can see how many of you are still using USB devices. Or even in the chat, just put a yes. Let's see quickly. How many of you are still using USB devices? Thumbs up, chat. Huh. Okay.
I see there's
Yeah.
a few hands raised.
Okay. The hands are coming up. Well, that's interesting. And now, yeah, that's interesting. It's so, colleagues, you know the dangers of of USB, right? So, firstly, it's something that can get easily lost. Firstly, secondly, if you have a virus, it can actually destroy all your data on the USB device. So, while these storage devices really had a particular time when it was important, we are now moving to a much more cloud-based kind of solution of storing information. Now, the advantage of storing information on a cloud-based solution is one, it's much safer. So you can't lose a device as such as you lose a USB. But in addition to that, what's important is the points of accessibility. So, for example, just give you a case in my situation. I do a lot of traveling, and one of the advantages is that as long as my information is on the cloud and as long as I have access to an internet, I can access my data anywhere I want to. So that means even if I'm using a computer that's not my computer, as long as I can access OneDrive, I have information that I would normally use on a day-to-day accessible to me. The other advantage is that I can even access it off my mobile phone as well. So the points of accessibility become much more easier. And the data is also stored, so you don't have to worry about a USB device getting lost in the traditional way. You now have a better storage system. The advantage of this, as I mentioned, is accessibility, safety-wise, the more collaborations that you can do it, even for some of the documents that the colleagues would show you a little later. So this is quite an important move for us. Now, the other important part of it is that you have access to it. And one of our challenges is that many students are not making use of these type of resources that are available for you. And I'm going to invite David now to walk us through a little bit of OneDrive and how you can actually use OneDrive specifically in the learning space. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks, Denzel. Thanks, Richard. All right, so students, once more, good morning. I'm just going to share my screen quickly, and there we go. All right, so I'm just going to start off with a few slides, and then I'm going to show you some practical elements of OneDrive and how we actually use it. So it's quite fun, actually. It's quite a nice tool to use, and I definitely recommend it. So we're going to just have a quick look at what is OneDrive, so you guys are aware of it, the benefits and the platforms that you can access it from. Okay, like pretty much like what Denzel just said, how many of you guys are still using a USB? But let's be honest, how many of you guys have lost your USB or a virus has wiped it? I think almost all of us have had at some point or another. And then you've lost your documents, and then it's all nightmares that happen thereafter. So yes, so do post in the question or in the chat box if you've lost a USB before and what type of information was actually sitting on there. Because if you didn't password protect that USB, and let's say you had your ID there or your payslip on there, you can imagine that there's a lot of personal information that you would have then lost, and somebody could then actually access it and use it. Identity theft is a very real thing, so that stuff is actually quite valuable for anybody that would actually find a USB or steal a USB. So yes, so do post in the chat, and yeah, it's not a nice experience when you've lost your memory stick. And of course, they do die eventually, this type of technology. So one day you're just going to plug it in and it's just not going to read anymore. And then all your data would have been lost. Now, OneDrive, guys, basically, what is OneDrive? Now, OneDrive is your USB, but the difference is now it's sitting in the cloud. Okay, so if it's in the cloud, that means you can access it from anywhere. So that's a major, major benefit. It does have version control. So in other words, if you've got documents that you're sharing from your OneDrive, it will manage everybody that's accessing and sharing and the versions of the document itself. So that's all done for you in the background. So it's really cool. When you're working on OneDrive, it saves automatically for you. So even if you're busy typing your assignment and load shedding happens, and let's say your desktop computer doesn't have a UPS, a power supply to keep it running, and it goes off. But the good news is on OneDrive, your data would still be there and it would automatically save. So that's also really cool. And I'll show you how that works. And then, of course, accessing OneDrive is really good as well because you can access it on your laptop, your desktop, your smartphone, your tablet, anywhere you've got internet access. Really, that's all you need. You will be able to access your OneDrive. So what is OneDrive? Well, if you were listening, you would have heard me say some very important keywords like cloud storage. So it's basically a USB that's sitting in the cloud that Microsoft is managing. And of course, then they've got all the security and the virus checking and everything there automatically set up for you. So you don't actually have to do anything. It does it for you, and then it will protect your files. Now, that does not mean you should be uploading videos or music that you've downloaded from the internet, because that's all piracy. So ideally, rather don't do that because Big Brother will be watching. And most likely they will probably end up deleting your files if it gets flagged. So yeah, keep it to files that you work with, that you need, that are no copyright issues, please. And of course, yes, it's personal as well as work. Most businesses now are also using OneDrive, like what we do here at UNISA, the university. So colleague staff, we all use OneDrive. So hopefully from today, you guys will be sold on using your OneDrive. So now, basically, how does it all work? Well, it works exactly the same like your normal hard drive that you would have in your computer, okay? The only difference is, guys, it's not saving on your actual device, but it's actually saving into the cloud. And the files then can synchronize between your computer, your tablet, your phone, to the cloud and back to your device that you're using. So in essence, it's making basically a copy for you. So, which is really nice. And then, of course, you can also email it to yourself. You can link to it. You can share from it. So it pretty much functions exactly like your Windows Explorer. And that's what I'm going to really show you this morning, how we can actually do this and how it all works. I've got a little video over here, but before I play the video, I just remembered the one thing I like to forget is to include the sound when I'm sharing. So let me quickly put my sound on. Great, there we go. All right, so let's have a quick listen to the video.
Need a solution that lets you store all your files in one place, share and collaborate with others, and get to your photos and files from anywhere? OneDrive can help. OneDrive supports more than 270 file types. Create a file on your PC or Mac and edit the same file on your laptop, tablet, or phone. No need to email it to yourself or save a copy to a thumb drive. Easily share files with others, work together, and see comments and changes as they happen. Stay connected wherever you are with the OneDrive mobile app on your Android, iOS, or Windows phone. With all your files in OneDrive, securely store, share, and get to your files from anywhere, at work, at home, or on the go. We'll show you how.
All right, so that's pretty cool. So now you've got to see a nice video introducing you to OneDrive, just reinforcing what we've already spoke about. Okay, so there are 3 different ways to access it. So I'm going to be showing you the browser route and the desktop route. And then, of course, on your smartphones, you guys can also go and play around and see how it works on your smartphone. I know a lot of students use their smartphones with their studies. So this is definitely going to help you. Absolutely. And of course, accessing all the other apps as well. All right, so let's go first one. Let's go have a look how it looks in the browser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Microsoft Edge. I just want to start a fresh one. And then I'm going to first of all log into the Adobe platform. So if you haven't done this yet, please do it. If you've joined maybe a little bit late, please just get onto the website. Okay, I'm already logged in, I see, good. And then go to the course site. There it is, STU 400. And now, of course, we're dealing with OneDrive. Now, one of my buddies contacted me after last week, Saturday, and she said to me, David, you know, you've got this information sitting here. I've watched you do it. Do I need to go through the Microsoft Learn course? And I actually said to her, yes, of course. There's 2 very important reasons why we want you to do that. You get a certificate if you do all the activities. That's one from Microsoft, as Richard already mentioned. And the second thing is there's a lot more things that you can actually learn. Okay, so it's not just what I'm showing you. What I'm showing you is like tip of the iceberg type scenario. So if I scroll down here, you'll see there's a whole bunch of other information that you actually do need to work through to really grasp it and be able to maximize everything from the technology that you're learning. So please do go work through these things. It really will help you understand the technology and even push it. Because remember, technology is going to keep changing. So there will be new things popping up all the time. So in this way, you'll stay up to date and you'll maximize what you've got as when you're studying here at the university. So please do get into this as well. Okay, so have your course site open and then please go to your portal.office 365 if you're not there already, and please sign in. Just going to give it a few seconds. So it's just jumping around a bit. I'm going to close that tab. Okay, so mine is signed in already because it's picking me up that I'm in. So just remember, you're going to use your MyLife email address and your secret password. Okay, so first thing is you're going to click on your waffle, that little guy here in the top left corner, the little waffle, click on it, and you normally will see OneDrive really towards the top. If for whatever reason it's not in the top, then you can just go to explore more apps and you'll see all the other bazillion apps that are sitting in Microsoft that you can access. Depending on your license, of course, it might not have all of them like that one over there. So there we go. So I'm going to click on OneDrive and you'll see it opens its own tab over here. Okay, but now remember, guys, now we're at the web-based version, the cloud version, okay? So there's 2 different ones, the desktop and the cloud. So now we're looking at the cloud version. So the first thing I'm going to pick up is it's going to have some recent files that I've worked on, and then you can see all of them. So that picks up from all the work that you're doing. So it really understands where you're at. And then, of course, I can create new documents. All right, notice there's no folder here, just new. The reason being, look where I'm currently. Okay, but I'll explain that in a second. Also, you can upload your files and your folders that you have. So if you're a first-time user and you want to get all your data there, this is one way to do it. There are other ways you can synchronize, but this way here you can upload your files, upload your folders that you've already created before, and then you can go and put them under My Files. So that's basically what they're going to be called. So this is your home, just to show you what you've got quick access to, all these folders from MS Teams and all over the show. So you'll also find them here. And then, of course, all your recent documents like what we're doing today. You can see I was busy on the files. Then if I click on My Files, then you'll start seeing a whole bunch of folders. Now, of course, for a new user, it might just be completely empty, and that will be perfectly normal. But if I scroll down, then I can see all my folders. And it's, as you can see, I've got many, many folders and files sitting here. So there you can just see them all. Okay, so this is really what you're sitting at My Files. It means what you have in the cloud and on my desktop as well, in terms of my hard drive, my physical hard drive in my laptop. So these are synchronizing, but don't worry, we're still going to get to how that all works. All right, then I can look at shared. Now, this is where you got people sharing folders with you. All right, and so if you click here, it'll be a quick way just to find those folders. And there you can see, for example, we had focus groups in the Western Cape, so we uploaded some pictures. And so there was a folder that was shared with me and all the other colleagues. And therefore, under the shared option, you'll find all the shared folders. So what you're sharing with people and what they're sharing with you. It even says who's sharing it, okay? So there we go. So you can see there's a whole bunch of information. So there, for example, I shared something, and then you can see all the people that are sharing with me as well. Not just folders, but also files as well. Okay, so here we had a SPS workshop yesterday, and there the lady, the trainer, shared the file, and there we go. So you'll find it under shared. So this is also really cool because it makes it easier for you to find, especially if you know it's something that's been shared with you. All right, then you can click on favorites. Well, these ones now is where you can actually identify a file that you would like to remember. Something that is quick to find is your favorites folder. So just like any of the other Microsoft products, you'll always find favorites. So for example, if I go here, here's a budget template, and I'm like, you know what, I need to remember this, and I don't want to be looking for it later. There's the little option there to add to favorites. So you can simply just click on it, just like that, and then I know it's going to be under my folder. There it is. Okay, so just like that. Now I know in my favorites, maybe just those things I want to work with this week, and I can put them there. When I'm done and I don't want it there anymore, you simply click on the star again, right? And then it'll disappear. Blink, and disappears, and there it goes. So you can actually do it very easily, basically from your home, especially when you're dealing with files that you're going to work with. Okay, so that's quite nice. Favorite. Then you've got the recycle bin. Now this is a very interesting problem that I find this quite often with students when we're training you guys, even colleagues for that matter. They say to us, okay, but you've got a recycle bin here and you've got a recycle bin here. Now I've got two recycle bins. So which one is the actual recycle bin? Okay, let me show you something. If I go create, let me just create something very simple, a text file, right? And you'll notice there's the sync sign, so just remember it, and then the little tick sign. So a little later on, I'm going to remind you of that again. So I select the file and I go and delete it. Of course, it's going to go here, right? Right, there it is, deleted. But because my OneDrive is synchronizing with this, if I go now and check my recycle bin, I probably need to refresh it. Give it a few seconds. Okay, let me just go away and come back. Sometimes that does work if I do that. There it is. So now the question is, how many recycle bins do you actually have? It's the same thing, guys. It's one recycle bin, just you're accessing it from a different point. So in other words, this one, because I've deleted some things here, you'll see it's a little bit more busy and I haven't emptied it yet. Okay, but on your desktop, there is your recycle bin, and this is what I've deleted from my desktop. Okay, so it's actually exactly the same thing. So it's always good to empty the recycle bin every now and then, which I'm doing. You say yes, and there we go. So just like before, you've got your recycle bin. on a USB, if you deleted things before Windows 10, if you deleted any file or folder on your USB, it was gone. You could never recover it. You could never really find it because it didn't actually keep a track of it. Now with Windows 11, I do see if you delete from your USB, it does actually go to recycle bin. So at least that sort of covered that problem. But yes, so you do have this recycle bin. The recycle bin is just one thing, and it's synchronizing as well, just like all your files and folders. So, okay, so that's quite important to remember. Right, so that's basically the lay of the land in terms of your, let me click on this one, in terms of your OneDrive in the cloud. Okay, but let's do some extra things over here. All right, so as I said, so now we can click on new. So what I'm doing is I'm on my files, right? That's the start point. I know I've got a lot of stuff here, so I'm just going to say new folder. Let's make it 2024, because at least that year is still coming. And I click on create. Now you're going to give it a little bit of time. It doesn't instantly pop up. It should, but it might just be because the network might be a bit slow. So I refresh it. Okay, good. There we go. Just to speed it up a bit. It will pop up, but there we go. So there you'll see it's 2024. Like Richard likes to remind me, please zoom in. Okay, I'm zoomed in. So 2024. And then you'll notice this funny little star little thingy over here in the corner. That just indicates that's something new. Okay, it's, in other words, just been created. It's something new. So that's a quick way to see I've created something. Where is it? You just look for this little symbol over here. And then if I click on 2024, and then it'll take you inside your folder. Now it's kind of empty. So it's exactly like your Windows folder. It works exactly on this exact principle here. So what you're doing here is exactly what you're doing in the cloud. So now I can go create subfolders if I wanted to. Let's say semester 1. There we go. See, now it's a little bit quicker. Good. S2, so semester 2. And there you can see the symbol. So now I'm just creating folders, just like I would do. If I click inside the S1, it goes inside the folder, right? And then I want to create, let's say, well, we're going to do PowerPoint next week, right? So I'm going to create PowerPoint here. And once I select PowerPoint, look what happens. It opens the app in the cloud. So it's in your browser, in the cloud. And immediately it saves, and it even tells you you're currently in the cloud. This is where I'm saving to. So to join us next week for PowerPoint, where I'll be showing you how all this works. Now, as I said in my presentation slides, whenever you're typing here, whatever you do, immediately it's going to save. So keep an eye over in this little area here. Can you see how it's so quick? It just indicates saved, quick, synced, quick, it's done. So even if power goes off right now, right? If load shedding just happens, boom, everything I've typed in is already saved instantly. Okay, and this applies to any of the apps that you're working with, Excel or Word, doesn't matter. It will automatically save it for you. Okay, so I'm not going to go too much into PowerPoint, so let me close this little chap. There we go. And there's your file over there. Now, yes, by default, it is going to give it a default name, which is very easy to go and rename. So you'll see there's always this little option here, the little ellipse, the ... And then you've got all these different options here that you can actually go and use. So I'm going to change this to intro slides 2024 S1, something like that. Rename, and there we go. Immediately it's changed. Now I'm working in the cloud, guys. So it means I can access this information wherever I am, as long as I got internet and a device. Brilliant. And of course, there's your little star, hey? Now, another nice thing is when I'm creating information like this, I can also go and share that information. So if I click on the share button, all right, it's going to pop up like this. Now this, whoops, and I go and click it away. Let me do it again. So this little window here is something you're going to see with pretty much all the different Microsoft technologies. It pretty much looks exactly the same. So if it's MS Teams, Microsoft Word, whatever it is, whenever you are sharing things with Microsoft, it always looks something like this. So let me put in Righty's name over here. Not the wife, him. Okay, there we go. All right, so there it is. And now here is my permission. So in other words, this slide, I'm going to, or this presentation, sorry, I'm going to share this with this person. And then I can say, what does that person, what are they able to do? Can they edit, make changes? All right, or can they just view what I'm sharing with them? So that you need to decide over here. So I'm just going to say edit. Please add slides for next week's classes. Okay, something like that. And then you can click on send. And what will happen is Richard then will get an email saying the following has been shared with you. And just like that, you've managed to share it with somebody who now can then go and edit. As I said, you decide then what you want to do. So this little option here, it's quite important because you can see all the different things that you can actually do from downloading it. In other words, if you want to download this to your laptop or desktop, then you can click on the download button, give it a few seconds, and it will download then like that. Okay, so that's if you want an offline copy. Let's say, for example, you're going to be traveling, you're switching off your data, but you still want to work on your presentation. You can do it that way. You can download. And then once you arrive at your destination, you put your data back on, then you can upload your answer or your finished work. Okay, so that's another option. So you can become very flexible how you want to work. That's also important. Okay, moving and copying. Yes, I did mention the version history. Just want to show you, even though there's not much happened. And so here we go. Version 1 is when I created it. Version 2 is when I added some info there. And then version 3 is probably when I added a little bit more information. So every time I added something, it actually creates the version for me. And you'll see the dot here as well. Now, what does this mean? Cool. I can actually go restore the file from this version. I can open this file, or I can delete that version. So let's, for interest's sake, let's go to the very first one. And let's go say open file. I want to see what it looks like. Give it some time because now, of course, it's working in the cloud. And there we go. So my very first version was simply just creating an empty file. That's actually what it was. Then I can click on to make this previous version become the latest version, click on restore. So it also gives you this option over here to then restore it. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Sometimes it does take a few seconds or even a minute or two. So let's have a look at the second version. All right, and I go back and I look. Because why is this so important, guys? Because you're going to maybe share this file and other people are going to make some adjustments. Or you might be typing, you might delete a paragraph and then realize later, oh man, I actually need that information. Then you can simply go back to the version and then you should be able to access that information again. Okay, so the second version was when I typed in welcome and I edited back around. Okay, then there we go. So you guys can actually see this is a nice practical example how the versioning works. And the nice thing is OneDrive is doing it for you in the background. You don't even have to tell it to do it. Okay, so these are pretty much all the options. Of course, manage access. I just want to show you because we did share it. So if you click on manage access, then it will pop up this. Now, this is quite useful, especially in a situation where maybe you decided that, okay, I want, whoops, let me just go back one step. I wanted Richard to edit, and there we go. So you can then edit. So it's just a quick way of actually seeing, all right, what can he do? What can't he do? Who's got access to what? Okay, and then of course there is a stop sharing button. So if I click on this, that means then you will not be able to access. There we go. So you'll see it deletes the user. Right, guys, I hope you're learning some really interesting things in your OneDrive. All right, so let me go back to files. Okay, so it brings me back over here. There is some fun, interesting things if you're into IT and you really want to explore Power Automate. Okay, this might depend on the license that you have, if I remember correctly, but it is something that you can actually do a lot of automation where it actually can do things for you that you wanted to do. For example, copying files from a certain date, from a certain folder to create a backup for yourself, something on those type of lines. But this is something that you can actually go and explore yourself. Right, so this is really how the cloud works. So it looks something like this. As I said, you do have folders from your MS Teams, for example, that you can also access files and folders like that as well. This gets automatically created for you when you get shared information from those other channels or if you create it yourself. Okay, so let's have a look quickly now. What did I do with my 2024 folder? Oh, there it is. Okay, so you'll notice there is a ... here. So I've selected the folder, and then I just want to show you guys, so you can copy the link. So if you want to email it to somebody, you can share it. That's also probably the easier route. But if you want to copy the link, make a shortcut, you can do that. You can request files. Now, this is a new feature. Okay, so I haven't even fiddled with this yet, where you can actually request other users for updates on their files that they're working with. So this is something we're still going to explore ourselves, but it's definitely worthwhile looking at. Deleting, renaming, so pretty much all the same options that you would have. Okay, so this is really the nice side of things in terms of your OneDrive and how you can access your information from the cloud. Now, the second part of what I want to show you is, okay, so here we go. And that's basically what I've showed you now, is from the desktop view. So in other words, how does it look on your desktop? Now, there's a couple of catches with this, and I need to show you how to log in first. Okay, so what will happen is you download the app and you're going to install it, and then you'll see that it will look like something like this. So when you're going to look for it, it'll look like this. But the very first time, you are going to need to be able to log into it with your account. So let me just go back one little step before we continue. Now, just to answer my dear friend, I hope you're attending today. Why is it so important to work through Microsoft Learn? Because here's exactly the example that I'm going to work from. And this example is actually sitting right inside Microsoft Learn. Now, there's no sound. I've actually switched off the sound because I actually want to explain it to you guys and pause it as well. So what will happen is, guys, you'll go to your Windows, all right, like that. You'll type in OneDrive. Okay, good. You'll click on it. And then very firstly, what it's going to ask you is, because remember, this is the very first time now that you'll be running this app. Okay, so you're going to need to log in. So you're going to type in your MyLife email address, the whole thing. So student number at mylife.unisa.ac.za. That whole thing, you need to put it in, all right? Then you're going to continue. You'll click on sign in. Then it'll say type your password. So this little guy looks very familiar, right? When you're logging into MyLife, there it's the same guy, same login service. So you should see your user account. You'll type in your password. You'll say sign in. Great. Then it's going to say to you, okay, welcome. This is your OneDrive folder. All right, so it's telling you it's going to set up some things with you. Now, mostly you're going to see, and the video creator also did pretty much the same. They don't make any changes. They keep the settings as is, although you can change your location. But ideally, it's not really such a big train smash. I know what I would normally do is I would set the location to, let's say, for example, a D drive. So in other words, you take your hard drive and you split it into different drives. So if your C drive has a problem, then you know your data sits on the D drive as an example. But this is before we even had OneDrive. So you can change locations if you really want to, but generally it's not necessary. Just say next. Then it says getting to know OneDrive. Great, that's what we're doing. And in the background, it's busy installing. Okay, so the person, as you can see, just goes next, next, next. Now what you'll see is it's going to create something looking like this for you. Now, it's quite important to notice, for example, this person has a personal OneDrive account and they've got a work email or OneDrive account. So yes, you can have multiple OneDrive accounts, personal and business, running on your devices. That's totally up to you, depending on the licenses that you have. So it's totally up to you. Of course, business tends to come with a much bigger drive space, so that's usually why most people use it for both. But if you want to keep them separate, very good idea. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, so there's your two OneDrives. Okay, then it says you can download OneDrive at onedrive.com/download, and it is for Windows 11. I think Windows 11 already has it in. It's just a matter of actually logging in. I think it's preloaded already. So you can download it. If you don't have it for whatever reason, you can just quickly download the app and then install. Then it's going to run through the first few slides that I showed you. So the nice thing is, there we go. So now you can see we've got our OneDrive for personal, And for example, the person also used, yeah, it definitely does. And then, of course, there's your Mac as well for Mac users. All right, there we go. Now, the cool thing is, guys, this is how simple it is. So here we've got my documents folder, right? I've got all my files, all my folders sitting over there. Here's my OneDrive, so I can access it. And using the Windows Explorer, I can simply copy it over, just like that. And let's see how they do it. So I click, I drag, and I drop, and there we go. And it synchronizes from there. Beautiful. Then on the bottom right corner, you'll notice the cloud symbol. So wherever you see this little guy, you can click on it. It shows you all the files that it's going to synchronize for you. So automatically, it's always running. So that's one little catch, guys. OneDrive, if you're working in the cloud, will need some sort of data, or when you connect to the internet, it is going to require data from you. Okay, so just be very aware. If you're running on student data and you don't have that much remaining, take note. You might want to pause your uploads depending on how much data you've got left. So if you click on more, you'll see there is the pause syncing option as well, but I will show you in a few seconds. You can add more accounts. So like I indicated, your personal or your work account, you can simply add them like that. So thank you, Microsoft. Again, guys, this is why it is so important to work through Microsoft Learn. As I said, there is sound, but I just switched it off because I wanted to explain it in my own slow pace. Yeah, so please do work through these things. There's a lot of more information there that can definitely help. And yes, Richard, my desktop looks like a nightmare. So you can just see all the things happening. Okay, cool. So if you have a look at the cloud, so there we go. So you'll normally find him over here. So once you've installed and you've logged him in, he is going to synchronize. Okay, so, and because I'm on the internet all the time, it synchronizes all my files immediately as well. There's my recycle bin. Okay, so yes, he's also there. So if I say open folder, there we go. And it tells me this is where I am. So you'll see it looks a little bit different because my setup is a little bit different. But there you can also see it over there as well because that's the same location. That's under my favorites. And there we go. So there's my 2024 folder. Remember, I created that, right? And inside of it, I had S1 and S2 for semester 1 and 2. And I created my slides. There we go, guys. I'm on my computer, C drive, in my profile, using the app, and I'm accessing exactly the same information that I've got in the cloud. Now, this is the fun part. Now I want to create something else. Let's call the doc Teddy Bear Boy. All right. And I say enter. You'll notice there is the symbol. Let me zoom in quickly. Nope, that's the wrong button. Yeah, Windows. Why are you being difficult with me now? Okay, a little bit. Now it's gone already. Okay, I'll have to do that again. So you'll see there's a green symbol. Let me try that again. I took a bit too long. Let me put a text document. Call it research. Now what happens is, guys, once you create a document, you'll see the symbol indicating not yet synced. Now it's busy synchronizing. And once it synchronizes, it goes to a green tick, and there we go. So that's quite important to remember. Because I've got internet connection, OneDrive is running, it's immediately going to synchronize as I'm working. Okay, so whatever I'm doing, it's busy synchronizing. No matter where you are inside the PC, on the desktop, wherever you are, it will synchronize. Now, you'll notice on the right, and you see I referred to it. If I click it over here, then it actually tells me that all my files are synced, yippee, and it also tells me how much file space in the cloud that I've got. Now, 5 terabytes is actually quite a big amount of data, to be honest with you. I think a terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes, so that will give you an idea that I'm not even, I'm hardly even 1/10 of a gig. I mean, 1 terabyte. I'm about 13%. Yeah, roughly there. So yeah, I've got quite a lot of space here. So this is really nice. For business use, great. I think for students, you guys get 1 terabyte, if I remember correctly. I'll just have to check, or you guys can check if you want. Just have a check once you've got your OneDrive working. and have a look at that. Then you can actually see how much space you've got. Now, guys, as I said before, please don't upload videos and music and all sorts of things that is not copyrighted, okay? If you don't own it, you can't do that, because at some point it probably will be deleted. I know Microsoft are quite stringent on that type of thing. Okay, so let's go back over here. So remember, that's another way of accessing the same thing over here. Okay. Right, so as you can see now, I've created some extra little documents. Now let's go back to the cloud and let's see what's happening on the cloud side of things. So there's 2024 S1, and immediately there we go. So take note, it does indicate to you, all right, these are new files that you've just created, but it doesn't last long. Hey? For a few minutes, once you start using it, that little icon thingy there disappears and then it's back to normal. So yeah, this is really fun, guys. Using the cloud, using cloud computing, it's very, very powerful. I'm hoping you guys are going to start using this from now on, because you really need to stop using USBs, because you know USBs also come with viruses. So yes, now with your smartphone, you can also install it. I think for Huawei users, I don't believe OneDrive is working. Richard, is that correct? It's not for Huawei users, if I remember correctly, because you don't have the Microsoft products on the App Store.
Yes, so just remember to, when you buy a device, make sure that you buy a device that's compatible with either the app Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. So unfortunately, Huawei phones got their own operating system, and Microsoft doesn't currently support that one.
Shucks, sorry guys, if you did go buy the latest phone, yikes, then you've got a bit of a problem there. I know students are using that type of phone, and funny enough, most of the issues when people have browser issues tends to be that phone make as well, because students tell me what browser they're using on their phones. So it really isn't that great in terms of compatibility, unfortunately, guys. But for Android users and Mac users, definitely it's worthwhile. Now, because you guys are students and you are using your phones, hopefully not that type of phone, like your Samsungs maybe, yeah, definitely it's a really good idea, because you are already using your phone for your assignments. Now I've just showed you how to create folders, subfolders, maybe create a module code, stick in all your files and tutorials and everything in one location on the cloud. So I'm really hoping from today you guys are sold on using this. Now, I might have given the answer away. So I've got a question here. So let's see how many students were paying attention. How many gigabytes are there in 1 terabyte? If you were paying attention, you might have heard. So let me know, Richard, if there are any answers coming through. So please post in the chat. How many gigabytes are in 1 terabyte?
We have 1,000, 5.
No, 5 terabytes is how much I've got.
1,000 gigs, 1,024 gigabytes on 1 terabyte.
Actually, that is the correct answer. Yes, I know it's not. I know a lot of people say it's 1,000, but the actual 100% correct answer is 1,024 gigabytes equals 1 terabyte. Because remember, computers work with the power of 2. So it's 2, 4, 8, 16. Yep, that's how it goes. So well done, guys. But yeah, 1,000's close enough, no problem. But 1,024, you're spot on. All right, have you ever tried sharing a large file? How did you do it? Interesting. How did you share files before? I guess we all used the good old thumbstick or USB or flash stick. It has so many names, same thing. How many of you guys are using, in some form or another, an external hard drive? Maybe put in your answers there. And how much gigs or terabytes is it? If you've got an external hard drive, let us know. And how big is it in terms of gigabytes or terabytes? But how did you share a file, guys? Yes, we use those devices because your Outlook, your Gmail is limited to, I think, 25 megabytes or so. So you can't send it.
Selena says she zipped the files and then shared it with people.
Oh,
that's also
goody.
a good way, especially if you've got a lot of files that you want to share. That is a good way.
Excellent.
You've got an external hard drive.
All right, fabulous. Yes, zipping files definitely can work, but from today, you don't need to zip anymore. Now you can use your OneDrive and share pretty much like I showed you. So that's a nice, simple way of sharing large files. So you can upload that large file. Let's say you make a video for your mom, her birthday. You can upload it, share with her. She accesses on her phone, then she can see the video just like that. And it's all connected through the cloud computing. So yes, using WinZip, I remember WinZip and all the other zips. That was the old way of doing things. So from today, guys, you're going to use OneDrive. So just remember the benefits. It's so important, guys. The availability wherever you are, as long as you've got internet access, not a problem. You can access it on your laptop, your desktop, smartphone, tablet. I know my daughter, my oldest daughter, uses a tablet and she accesses all her study materials just like that. Security is taken care of for you. But remember the most important thing with security, guys. You are fundamentally the biggest weakness because you're the one that has the password for your MyLife account, guys. And if you give or share that password to anybody, you're weakening your own security of all your data that's sitting in the cloud. So please, as I always say, do not share your password with anybody. Doesn't matter if it's the pastor, your husband or your wife, boyfriend or girlfriends, or even worse, because today you're dating, tomorrow it's even worse, you're breaking up. So don't share your password. And remember, if you have, for whatever reason, someone maybe sees your password or you felt it's been compromised, immediately go to MyUnisa and use the forgotten password option and reset both your passwords in one shot. Also benefit offline work, so you can work offline as well as being online. Oh yes, just remember this little option I wanted to show you guys, especially if it's your first time. You just click over here. You'll see the meeting option. Now where am I? There it is. All right, and there's the pause syncing option. So if you know you don't have huge amount of data available, let's say using data, and you want to synchronize your data from your phone or your laptop, and it's 20 gigs, all right, it's going to need that much data. I do suggest pausing. Maybe go to Unisa campus where there's free Wi-Fi, go sit there and let it do all the synchronizing for you. So that's just something I just wanted to make sure I did not forget to tell you. Otherwise, it'll munch your data very quickly. Files on demand, which means I can access my files, multiple devices, wherever I am immediately, as long as I can connect it. And I did show you how the version control works, which is super, super useful, especially when you're sharing, or you may be writing an assignment and you just wanted to move things around and then you decided some data I actually need it now. You can go back to the version and go and restore it and get back your data. So version control, again, is taken care for you, of you as well. All right, so yes, here's another question. Have you ever called a colleague to send you a file or report? Now, in a work environment, that happens like all the time, like as in 24/7 almost. So yes, we just simply at the university, we just use OneDrive and we share our files and reports like that. Why? Because the person gets a notification. And two, you can set what that user is going to be able to do. Can they edit or simply can they view your file? So that's important. And have you ever worked with a final version of a file? Haven't you seen that before, guys? Where somebody shares a file and then you add another file name and you add a little bit more onto it. So now it becomes the final version, and the third user and the fourth user and the fifth user. In time you hit the 10th user that's accessing that file, you've got 10 finals in the file name. So now you don't need to worry about that anymore. OneDrive is going to do it for you. It's going to manage it. You can share it. And that's why it's so important next week when you join us, guys. We are going to show you how to do Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. And you can work in teams using the same file at the same time, and it manages the whole process for you. So this is why OneDrive is super important. And please make sure, I hope you're all listening, go through Microsoft Learn. There are activities that you can do. Make sure you do them. So in your 180 seconds, Richard is going to count it for us because I'm usually terrible with the time element. Please go back to the add of site. There are 2 activities, one for online. So I want you guys to go do this, and it's step by step by step, showing you exactly everything I showed you here, but actually a little bit more. And I see people already did post as well. 21st of July. Yesterday. Okay, well done. The student's working ahead. That's excellent. And then also the desktop activity, which I've showed you. And again, have a look at the symbols that I also showed you there. And again, I see the student is very good. She's working ahead. So, yeah, so please make sure you do these activities, but also most importantly, we have got the videos for you, so you can always go watch it again. And of course, the slides are there as well. And of course, the learning path. So there's more to learn and more to explore. So that's pretty much from my side, Richard. So we can give the students 180 seconds. So if you can put on your clock and then, yep, then we'll continue. There is a poll on the screen, guys. So please do submit the poll and which devices you're using. So you can actually select more than one. So in my case, I've got quite a few devices that I use. And then, yes, submit the poll as well. We just want to see exactly what you guys are doing. Okay, looks like laptops and smartphones is the biggest so far from 20 responses. All right, thanks, guys. So we reflect, and then we're going to hand over back to Denzel and then Richard to continue with today's program.
Okay, thank you very much, David, for that session on document and file management and specifically walking us through OneDrive. I'm sure by now everyone on the platform has a better understanding of what is OneDrive together with the importance of it. But I think in addition to what is OneDrive, the importance of it, it's important to see how storage systems have evolved over the past years and how we are really moving to a much more integrated cloud-based solution. Now, that was just one part of getting organized in an online environment. And the next part of our session is actually building on another app in Microsoft. And this is the interesting thing about Microsoft. It really speaks to the idea of an organized productivity experience. And we're hoping that even as we start exposing you to some of these tools, that you can start employing, start implementing some of these tools into your studying and learning to make it much, much more easier, much more organized, and also much safer for you at the end of the day. Now we move on to the next session. I'm sure that many of you might have seen this app, OneNote on your computer, but you have no idea what it is. And I bet you many of you haven't even explored it, but we're going to look more deeper. What exactly is OneNote? What are the benefits of it? And while you are looking at OneNote, I'm going to invite Richard to walk us through the OneNote session. But I also want to quickly say that you will find that we are actually pushing a very strong mobile integration as well. And the reason for this is that we know majority of our students are using mobile devices. And this is why we are trying to expose you to these tools, but also show you the mobile compatibility side of it as well, and how you can leverage some of these technology tools even on your mobile device. So welcome back again, Richard, and let me hand over to you to take us to this exciting session on OneNote. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Denzel. Can I just, I think before we start, anybody just raise your hand or gives a thumbs up or thumbs down? Have you ever used OneNote before? So we can just get a sense of, have you been using it? Have you heard about it? I see there's one thumbs up there. Oh, that's great. So I see there is also a question, Amanda, about linking up a personal account to your OneDrive. I'll show you just after the session quickly how to do it on the desktop, just after we cover this topic on OneNote. So all of you that haven't heard about OneNote yet, so today we're going to see how you can create content and sections and pages in a OneNote, and how you can compile and organize information. So you must really think of OneNote almost like a binder that you're going to be using, where you can drop in all this information that you get all over the show into one central area. So for instance, if you did the Microsoft Edge one activity, you would have done, a collection that you're building up from all the resources you get online, and then you can actually export that directly to your OneNotes as well. So just to get started, so OneNote is really a very simple app that you can use across devices. You can use it on a laptop, you can use it online, on your mobile device, and it always syncs up between these areas. And you can really use it to even collaborate with other students, but it's really there, a central space for everything, all the information that you might come across. So as we mentioned, it's like a digital notebook. You must think of it almost like a binder. It's got pages, or if you've got different notebooks, that's got different sections. And in that sections, you add the pages. Now, these pages can be basically anything. You can copy in a link to a website. Sometimes it will even ask you to add the whole website to it. If it's a PDF document, it can be a link to a PDF, or it can be actually embedding the whole PDF document on there. But you can really type above it, make your own notes as you go along as well. So in teaching and learning, you might come across, some of your lecturers might be using a class notebook. In the class notebooks, they can actually upload information, activities that you need, all in one central space. So at UNISA, we'll mostly be using My Modules, but especially when you perhaps get to your postgrad, when it's smaller groups, you might be doing all your activities in a Microsoft Team that's linked to a notebook as well, where you just can easily access information and share information between with each other. So why would you use OneNote? It's versatility. You can type, write, draw. As I mentioned, you can link up different documents. I know sometimes when we go to our resources on our module space, there's so many resources there, and you download them. Now they're just all scattered files. But here you can actually bring them all into one document, so you can quickly and easily go through them. If you find a video, put it in there. You can really structure it the way that fits your studying method, but also, make notes along the way that you might not want to forget in the future. And especially, if you're working on a project with somebody, say you are doing a group work, you can use this as a central space where everybody can drop in their information very quickly, and perhaps also give it a little bit of description why they think it's important, so you can start structuring your information together. And as mentioned, this actually comes with Windows, so you will have a personal OneNote as well. But with the institution, you also get here with Microsoft 365 OneNote where you can upload all your documents. So I just want to show you here on this picture. So generally you will work from left to right. So on the left-hand side, you will have all the notebooks that you create. So maybe you're creating a personal one where you just keep like personal information, you know, what is your electricity number, all those type of things. You might create one for work where you need to save, you know, work-related information. And then obviously you will create one for your studies, say a specific one for your module, or you can create just one UNISA, and underneath that you add your different modules, and that will be in the center where you create all these little binders. And then under each binder is the pages, so you can group pages underneath that binder. So you must really focus off, you know, this big binder that you have, almost files for each topic, and in them it's different sections, and under each section there is different pages that you can add. And as we mentioned, you know, it's so versatile that you can record in it, you can type in it, you can add images, PDFs, all of that, all the information that you gather over the internet or images that you can just add it to it very quickly by just copy and pasting into this one central area. So we're just gonna, how can I say, I know a lot of you might not be familiar with it, so that is why we're going to take it, you know, through the activity step by step, introduce you how you can create your first notebook, and then obviously afterwards you can really tell us how are you going to be using this within your studies. So I was thinking, you know, while we're going to be doing OneNote, I'll show you some demos as well of how I might be using it in my studies. But generally, OneNote is already installed on your PC. If you on your smartphone, you can just go to the App Store. You can download OneNote. You can sign in with your MyLife email address, or you can perhaps have, for instance, a personal email that you can also link up to it. So you can add different accounts just as you can do with OneDrive. So really, we're going to look at the functionality of how to use it. But before I dive into the activities, I just want to remind you on the course page, if you go under the activities, we're basically in the section note taking and organization. So I'll copy the direct link to this section. Remember to always first have a look at the content. We've got the short video that also takes you through the introduction, but also the activity. The presentation that you see here is also available on here. And we've got the link to the Microsoft Learning Path as well. So just remember, if you do this Microsoft Learning Path, you sign in with your MyLife email, and you generally get badges with this. Now, a lot of people are asking, but what am I going to do with a OneNote badge? Those badges you can actually link to, for instance, your LinkedIn account. So people can see what skills you have actually gained and that you are a continuous self-improved learner. So really make use of these badges. It can just, how can I say, make your profile, for instance, on LinkedIn and all those places, just so more attractive for perhaps future employers. But if we get back to our section, so remember, please work through all these sections and then do the activities. The activities are really to enforce that, so we can see that you know how to use this apps. So one thing I want to show you is an example of a notebook, and this one is, as you can see now, on Windows. So as we mentioned, at the left-hand side, you have access to all your various notebooks. So if you, for instance, select a notebook, and then you've got all these little binders, so it can be different topics. So this can, for instance, be UNISA studies, and then you've got your modules underneath here, and then you add different pages. So you can add as many pages as you basically for each topic that you need. So when you're doing, for instance, this is your module name, This can be, for instance, assignment 1, everything that you've got for assignment 1. And you just basically drop everything in here as you find it, such as PDFs, all of that you might need further on. So as you can see how I use it, you know, with programming, it might be for your studies, you've got a lot of things that you need to, formulas that you need to remember, or rules, all of that, to just easily get to it. Because what you will find is, especially if you save things in files, later your whole desktop is full of files, and now you have to really try and get back to it, you know, afterwards, and then you have to go search for all these files, and you know, it becomes a nightmare. And it's almost like you could really just go and relearn it in the textbook. So this is a quick way just to keep everything organized, and you can always have quick access to it. And as I say, you can have multiple ones depending on what you are working on. For instance, I use it quite a lot, you know, to save, you know, where to do certain things, IP addresses, all these things that really not necessarily want to remember, but sometimes you do need quick access to all of these this information. So let's get started with the activity. So I'll post a direct link to the activity as well, and we'll walk through this step by step. I see there's a question, can I download, print the badges? Badges is more a digital signature. So you can always add it to your CV to say you've earned these badges from Microsoft, but rather, if you want to add something to your CV, complete all these activities. We do periodically, we will then extract, you know, everybody that completed the activities, and we'll give you a Microsoft certificate of participation. So, and that you can easily print out and add to your CV, you know, if you want to send that out. So please do these activities on here. We've already had 1,200 students that received certificates this year. And I mean, that's something already that they can add to their CVs. As we know, a lot of us have to work on the side as well while studying. So if you open up this activity, so what we are basically going to be doing is create just a notebook that you can then use, for instance, for your studies. So the first thing that you need to open is this link, office.com. So if you you'll probably, if you haven't signed in, you will have to sign in for the first time. So I'm going to copy this link into the chat as well, so you've got quick access to it. So I'll paste that in there, portal.office.com. And now, as we learned last week in office.com, once you reach here, you will go to your home page, and this is where your dashboard is, where all of your information is. So if you actually click on this app launcher, here you can actually see what the Microsoft certificate looks like. So we're not lying when we're talking about the certificate. So this is the previous people that actually got certificates as well. So on the dashboard, remember the app launcher is here right at the top, and this actually shows you the apps that you've got access to. Now, say your OneNote is not showing on here. Maybe you've been using some of the other apps and it's not actually showing on here. Just go to the bottom and select Explore all your apps. And this will then open up this window where you can then expand to all your apps. So just click on this link here on the right, all apps, and then you can see all the apps that you've got access to. I noticed David mentioned, for instance, Power Automate. If you, for instance, interested in more technical apps that we won't be covering this course, but hopefully in the future, really go look at these Power apps, you know, where you can build almost like mobile apps. And the other one is where you can automate. So if you do, for instance, a task, something else happens. So you can, even if you add a file to OneDrive in a specific folder, it must add the file already to my OneNote, for instance. So these are more advanced apps, so really go look them out. But within this collection, look for OneNote. So it should be looking like this with a little binder. You click on that OneNote, and then it will list all your notebooks that you have already. So remember, you can do this in the app as well. You can do it on the Windows app too. It might just, the interface might look a little bit different, but we're just going to show you the online version of it through this activity. So the first thing that you need to do, you might come here and you've got no notebooks. So you just click on create a new notebook, and we're going to give this one a name. So I'm going to call this, for instance, let's say UNISA Studies 2023. So we know this is for this year. So I can create this notebook. And just a reminder, all the steps are on here. So for instance, so if you fall behind, lose connectivity or anything like that, all the steps are clearly highlighted on here. So even if you afterwards want to do this after the session, just come back here and then you can actually do it from here. So what you need to do here is then, for instance, once you've created your notebook, it will look something similar to this. And then we can now see we've got a notebook, but there's no sections yet for us to add anything. So the first thing you'll do is at the bottom, you'll see the add section and then add a page. So first we add a section. So this is the one binder that we're now creating. And I'm going to call this one for a specific module. So you can put in your module code, or you can put in, for instance, one of your module names in here, because this is all our studies that we're doing now in 2023. So I'm just going to leave it here. I'm going to add the module code and the module name as well. So I can press OK. Now, usually what you can do here, for instance, is you can perhaps do assignments. And then you can type in, for instance, assignment dates. So what we're currently working on is a page that was automatically created. So you can always add more pages as well. So I can say here, for instance, assignment dates. And then I can say, for instance, say the first one is 20th of August. And I can perhaps the other one is 21 September. So you can add all, text in here. What I used to do with my studies as well is my tutorial letters, drop them in here. Any additional resources they add them on here. So I don't need to go on my modules and go search for it through the resources folder or, on my desktop. Everything is here. But what's really nice about it is you can add, for instance, all these different things, so for instance, this is to do. So it adds a little tick box there for me. So if I do this, say, assignment 01, and this one is, for instance, assignment 02, I can actually come in here and then tick, oh, okay, I have done that, or I have done this. And this can be, you can really build through these tags and things. There's so many different elements that you can add. And it just helps you to keep track, perhaps, of what you've been doing so that you can easily access it from here. I'm just quickly going to show you as well. Let's do here, add a new page. And we're just going to say, this is, for instance, a tutorial letter. Now, if I want to, for instance, add something on here, as we can see, we can have all these different tags that we can be doing. But we can also insert various types of files and even forms, and you can even record an audio, of certain things. So let's say, for instance, we want to insert a file printout. So we don't want to just link to the file. We actually want the whole file to display on here. So I'm just going to show you the difference between these. So remember, attachment will be a link to a specific file. But say we want actually the whole file in here. So it's, for instance, a tutorial letter. Then we can just go here. Let me just go here, for instance, my exams, for instance, a sample PDF. I open it up here. Just zoom out. And you can see it put in that whole PDF on here. So the file is still there, but now I can read it very easily on here as well. So as I mentioned, you can add websites, to-do lists, anything that you possibly can think of, almost link it onto here. And as we mentioned, so say I've got, for instance, I was in my Bing, where I used all these, I did my research on the AI the last time. And now I want to add this to a OneNote as well. I've got all these resources that I looked at for my assignment. It already did the citations for me. So if you have not done this activity, please go and do this. It will really help you to quickly, how can I say, collect a lot of information when you do research. But I can now actually click on these dots and I can just say send to OneNote. So it will ask me then for, what location I want to send it to. UNISA Studies 2023, save. And then it will actually now add it to that OneNote as well. So you can see with all this information that you always get all around, different places, I can now say, this is the collection I made where I was researching AI. It's already now added the websites on here, so I can easily get back to it, once, I start writing, for instance. So this is how these tools integrate. And remember, for instance, OneNote, the notebooks are actually stored in OneDrive. So everything is linked up. You can access it from the OneNote app, or you can go to OneDrive to your notebooks, and you can access it from there as well. So especially if you're doing research, a lot of studying, you've got all these things that you have to remember in your life as well. As I said, mentioned, like your electrical code and all these things, it just becomes too much and everything is on a slip somewhere. Even product documentation, you bought a new dishwasher, you downloaded the PDF version of how it works, just drop it in here. So in the future, when it breaks, you can easily find all of this. So this is a real way to centralize all your information. It's securely saved online, and you can get access to it very easily from different devices. So for instance, say I go now to a different country. So I go to Britain. I saved a copy here of, say, my ID document or passport in case I lose it. Now I'm in the country, say it gets lost. How can I quickly get a copy of it? You sign into your OneDrive or your OneNote where you saved it, and all the information is there. So really make use of these resources to make sure all your information is backed up. I can really tell you, to lose information, I've seen students in their third years with USBs, where the hard drive crashes or something happens and you lose that information. It is a big loss. It's something that you can't recover. So rather make use of these types of apps to organize information that you can easily find it, but you also know you've always got access to that. So this was a quick introduction to OneNote. Please make use of it. As you can see, I make use of it quite a lot, and it helped me over the years. I mean, a lot of these things I studied 10 years ago, and it's still, there it is. Now I remember how to do it, quickly get access to it. So yes, please make use of OneNote. Please in the chat, let me know if you will be using OneNote for your studies or for work. Just the indication how you can see this will benefit you. Now, just one last thing for this activity that we were doing. So if you go through the activity, the steps here, remember you can be creative. Add images, add videos, and then once you are done, just copy the link to the notebook with us so that we can see in the activity that you were able to follow these steps. So for this, to share it, as you do with almost anything in in OneDrive and Teams and all these places, there's always the share option. So I'm going to share this copy link to notebook. Now, I just always advised, if you're going to share this, remember, you don't want somebody else to edit it. So just make sure anyone with the link can view is enabled. Remember, you can say different edit settings. For instance, only people in University of South Africa, for instance, if you want to make it more secure. So now you know it's not publicly available. People have to log in to actually view your document. And you can always say you want to share it with somebody that you want to collaborate with. You can easily change it to edit. So now you can work on it together. Maybe you've got a business interest with a partner, or you're doing a research with somebody and you need to all have access to this binder where you can have all the information centralized. Then obviously you will share it with them. They can edit, right? But you might be saying specific people, people you choose, and you type in their email addresses so only they've got access. So really have a look at the different settings for how you can share it. But for this activity, once you share this link, just make sure it says here, anyone with the link can view. So that means they can look at this notebook. Remember, if you're going to be creating one that you're going to be using, rather create just the extra one that you can share for this activity. But this one we can just share here, and anybody now that can open this link can actually view it. So once you're done, you just scroll down to the bottom again, you select reply, and you just paste in the link there. Should be, for instance, my life, and then your student number, just to indicate that it is your notebook. Now, remember, just post it in there. We will notice that it is a correct link. I see somebody already tried to share a document, but this is from the actual computer. So just remember, Louis rather share the online link, not the link on your actual device. But it's a good attempt that you have started already. Now, here the link will then show, so anybody can basically now come onto this link and they can actually view this notebook that I've shared with you very, very quickly. So yes, please make sure use of this. Let us know how you will be using it. I see that I will be using OneNote for both work and my studies. Yeah, that's very good. Use it for your personal life as well. Makes organizing things so much easier. Studies, yeah, certificate for previous workshop. Oh, there, somebody says, yeah, they got their certificate that they did previously. Now, good on you for completing all the activities. What is it? Mafabo, Bridget. So that's all from me. So let's dive into the last topic for this week. And that's going to be on email. Also a very important topic, how to correctly send emails, and also how to secure your accounts. There's a lot of hacking and things going around in UNISA. So it's very important, especially for email. How do you know when an email is trustworthy, and how do you appropriately respond to email? So with that, I'll hand over back to Denzel.
Thanks very, very much, Richard, for that. So we see, colleagues, that as Richard mentioned, this particular tool on OneNote was really, really quite a nice one. And I'm sure that if you're using it for your studies, you can actually use it very positively to start making some changes on how you set up your study materials. Now we go on, as Richard mentioned, to the email and calendar management, and we're going to call David back to the floor, and he's going to talk to us a little about the introduction to email, Outlook activity, etc. So, David, welcome back, David, as you walk us through the next session. Thanks.
Thanks, Denzel. And all right, students, let's tackle the next part of the course for this morning. All right, so we're going to go through some Outlook quickly. And then, so we're going to start with the PowerPoint like we did before, and then we're going to tackle the practical element. Okay, so what do you want to learn about Outlook? So students in the chat, please post what would you want to learn about Outlook. Now, I know you are accessing your My Life email, so that really is Outlook. But what would you really want to know about Outlook? So maybe just post it in the chat, and then let me know, Richard, if there's any interesting answers that come back from the students. And we'll give you like 30 seconds, guys. So post in the chat, what would you want to learn about Outlook? Anything so far, Richard?
I see there just how to send emails.
All right, thank you. All right, so students.
Okay, load shedding. Sorry about that.
Sorry about the load shedding. I see my dog just got inside the house. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. Sorry about that, colleagues, students. Okay, so we're going to look at the following. Describe the uses of email. Okay, you probably got an idea, but let's just cover everything. Identify options for getting set up with an email account. Okay, so your personal email and your My Life one, so you can have two different, or you can have multiple email accounts. It's not a problem. Using an email service to send an email. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that and the correct way to do it, because we do see some very odd emails that we receive. and we will hopefully help you today to know how to send emails correctly. And of course, then how to view and reply as well. Okay, so why do we need emails? Okay, so email, guys, is a service that we give you. It's called My Life, but of course you do know it from your Gmails and your Yahoos and all the other elements. So there's plenty of email services that are free and available, and it really is about communicating. So sending pictures and just sending emails to each other. I know nowadays with WhatsApp and these other technologies, it's probably not as common anymore to communicate with friends and family. Most people just use WhatsApp and Telegram and all these other things, but sort of the old-fashioned people, we still kind of use email now and then. All right, and of course, what it allows us to do is to send electronic mail. It's the email side of it, using the internet. So everything, of course, is cloud-based nowadays. So we use the cloud to send our emails. There are so many various providers. I mean, the most common is your Yahoo and your Gmail and all those, and Hotmail and all those type of things. So yeah, it's very easy to find a service provider. And as I said, mostly it's just free. It's really when you want to add on special features like data and sizes and things like that, hard drive size, then they tend to charge a fee. Okay, so that's usually how they make their money as well, of course, with all the marketing. The first thing you need to do is to, when you're sending an email, you're going to compose it, type it up, and then once you're ready, you send it off. But of course, you do need to know the other person's email address. So it's normally their username @ and then the service provider's domain name. So in our case, it would be your student number at mylife.unisa.ac.za. So we're just going to watch this little video quickly.
With the internet, we can communicate with others in new ways. For example, instead of sending a letter to someone using traditional mail, you can send an email or electronic mail. Let's look at how email differs from traditional mail. When you want to send a letter or package, you usually have a few options for which mail carrier you'll use. With email, you also have a variety of providers to choose from, and you can sign up for one of these services for free. One of the most popular email providers is Outlook, but there are several others. The first thing you'll do when sending an email is compose it. Instead of using a pen and paper to write your message, email providers have composing tools that make it easy for you to write, edit, and format your messages using text, images, videos, documents, and more. Next, you'll need to decide who to send your message to. When we send traditional mail, we need to know the name and physical address of the recipient. With email, every email user signs up for a unique email address. Each email address includes a username, the @ symbol, and the name of the email provider's domain. For example, someone named Jacob Hayward, who signs up for an email account with Outlook, might use the email address jacob.hayward@outlook.com. When you know someone's email address, you can type it into the header of your message and send it to the recipient instantly. The message will travel electronically over the networks that make up the internet and will typically arrive at the person's email inbox within minutes, sometimes seconds. This makes email a much faster way to communicate than using traditional mail. You can receive emails to your online inbox from anyone who has an email account, even if they don't use the same provider that you do. You can usually access your email account from any device that has a web browser. You can also install email apps on your desktop and mobile devices, so you can send and view email on the go. When you sign up for an email provider, you'll create a password so others won't be able to access your mail. Email makes it easy for us to communicate online by sending and receiving mail using the internet.
All right, so there we go. Nice little intro video explaining how it all works. So signing up for email. So first thing, you need to find your provider. So if it's Outlook or Gmail or any of them, and they're normally free, you can create your account. It's normally very quick to do. So the first thing you will need to do is type in your email address. All right, so that obviously it will verify that it's you. And then normally they send you a link that then you would have to click on to verify that it's your account. So in the creating of an account, you will have to put some basic information. normally your country, your contact number with the correct dialing code. So the basic things, and of course a password. So just like with your passwords for My UNISA and My Life, please do not share this password with anyone as well. Keep it secret and private. So when you sign in, you'll sign into your mailbox, pretty much like you're doing with your My Life email account. And then from there, you'll be able to access your emails that you've sent, received, and all the other communication and tools that are available, like your calendar as well. Now, emailing clients, you can access. Now, this is also a good thing. Just like with the cloud computing, you can access it from anywhere with any device. So smartphone, tablets, computers, you name it, long as you have an internet connection and data. So it doesn't matter which provider you're using. We also do get emails from Gmail accounts and Yahoo accounts. But the only problem is, guys, we really want you to use your My Life email accounts when you're contacting the university, because the other email accounts can get blocked by the firewall for whatever reason. It might pick up something that you might have put in there, and then it might flag it thinking that it's suspicious, and then it blocks it, and then we never actually get that email. So that's why using your My Life email is so important. Depending on which service provider you use, you'll see that Outlook does look different, or the emailing service looks different, but generally there are similar things no matter which one you're using, like the ToBlock and the CC block, which I'm still going to explain. So your user interface really is dependent on the service provider. Now, you will notice with My Life, it has been upgraded a few hundred times, so you will see that it does change now and then, and it'll look different. And with the new operating system, it always does look different as well. But you do need to know who you're sending it, what the subject of the email is, and the date and time. So all that information is captured as well when you're sending an email. So it's also very important that the subject of your email needs to be very specific, all right, and to the point. So when a person sees it, they already know an idea what this email is about. Now, as a student, what should you put in the subject? Definitely stick in your student number and maybe put in the module code if it's something to do with the module. If it's something to do with finance, put the word finance in. So it sort of just helps that user then really understand where you're at before you even get to reading the actual email itself. So here's another quick little video I'm going to run through quickly.
Microsoft Outlook. Create and send email. Select New Email. The cursor clicks the New Email icon. In a text box next to the word To, the name Alex Darrow is typed. Next to the word Subject, the words Status Update are typed. The email's body: Hi Alex, can you check on the status of the Contoso proposal this afternoon? Thanks. The cursor clicks Send. Reply to an email. The cursor clicks on an email. Select Reply. The response email's body: Sounds great. Thanks for letting me know. The cursor clicks Send. Forward to share with others. The cursor clicks the Forward icon. Next to the word To, the name Nestor Wilkie is typed. The email's body: FYI Status Update. The cursor clicks Send. A white check mark appears inside a bright blue circle. You got it. Microsoft.
All right, great stuff. So FYI, just for in case, it's for your information. And if it's FYA, then it's for your attention. It's something that you need to then actually respond to. Normally, the managers love to send those type of ones, saying FYI and FYA. So view and reply an email from Outlook. So we're just going to watch this quick little video from LinkedIn Learning.
Outlook contains some different options for handling emailed responses. We'll go over each one so you'll know which one to pick that meets your needs. Here's an email that I'm looking at in the preview pane on the right-hand side. If I want to directly reply to this email, I can select Reply from the top of the email itself or Reply from the ribbon toolbar. I'll click Reply, and I'll send an email to Leslie. You'll notice that the attachments that have been included in this message to start with are stripped out. This is because if I'm sending a reply back to Leslie, we can assume that since she was the one that sent me the attachments in the first place, that she already has them and doesn't need them again. To save space, Outlook will remove the attachments. I'll click Send, and off my message goes. Instantly, The icon in the folder list changes to an envelope with a purple arrow pointing to the left, meaning I've replied to it. Let's click on this email right here. This one also contains an attachment. Leslie only sent this one to me, and I think Jonathan would be interested in it. So I'll click Forward. Now that I'm forwarding this to somebody else, a few things have happened. Outlook has kept the attachment in the email, assuming that whoever I'm sending it to would also like to get the attachment. I'll address this one to Jonathan, and I can change the subject. I can do this in a regular reply also if I wanted to. I can add any new information, and Outlook automatically appends the words FW for forward at the beginning of the email. I can keep this or remove this. It's up to you. I can also add my own comments in addition to what Leslie has said. I could remove any header information from this email. In fact, it's a good idea if I'm forwarding something along that contains somebody's sensitive data, such as email information or a signature file. I'll click and drag to highlight the text, and I'll hit delete. I don't have to delete this. I could leave it in so Jonathan can see who sent it and the original time it came in. It's completely up to me. I'll click send, and my forward has been sent. Now the icon changes to an envelope with a blue arrow pointing to the right, meaning it's been forwarded. There's one more choice I have. Here's another email that's been sent to me, Jonathan, and Chong. I can reply to everybody that's involved in this email, not just the original sender, who in this case happens to be Leslie. I can click Reply All. This is going to create a new email that's addressed to everybody that was in the email. It's important to note that Reply All will indeed send an email out to everybody that's involved in an email. So if there's a long list of names in there, be careful about what you say because everybody is going to get a copy. And you should also think about whether it's really necessary for everybody to get a copy of what you're sending. Would you be better off only replying to the original sender? I'll click the send button to send this one off, and the icon changes to that of a normal reply. And that is how you maintain all your correspondence in Microsoft Outlook.
Learning doesn't stop here. Discover more expert-led tutorials at LinkedIn Learning. Start your free trial today at linkedin.com/learning.
All right, students, so as you guys can see, there's another way of doing it in terms of LinkedIn Learning's approach. So yes, please do access these resources. Now, there is an activity, but before we get to the activity, we are then going to go into our portal, Office Portal 365. So again, it's the same location we were before. Just make sure you've opened it. We are on the introduction to email. So if you did join us a little bit late, you'll find all the information, including the recording video and the presentation, and of course the learning path, which we keep referring to. So please make sure you engage these materials to learn even more. But of course there is an activity, and there you go. So once you guys have done this activity, please make sure right at the bottom over here, you see we're giving you all the detailed steps so you can't go wrong. But when you click on reply, just remember you need to use the advanced option to upload the attachment. I see that we do have a student who simply did a screen grab, which is also pretty cool. That can also do exactly what we want. So that's also pretty good. Well done. All right. So yes. So now before you guys start doing the activity, let's go have a look at our Outlook. So normally with My Life, you will usually land straight into your Outlook. But if you haven't and you land on your dashboard area, you can click again on your waffle. You will see Outlook over here, or in this case, in the shortcuts over here at the bottom. So either one doesn't matter. You can access it from here. So once Outlook opens, it'll look something like this. So the first thing you're going to notice is on the left-hand side, you've got all your other different apps that are available and shortcuts as well, like files, for example. Then you'll see you go to Home, View, and Help. So if we have a look at these, you'll see they've got different options. So it's just like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, where you got your ribbons that gives you different features. Of course, now we're running it through the web browser, so it will be a little bit limited compared to your desktop app, which is this one here at the bottom. All right, so let's start with creating an email, because that's the first task we're going to do. So there it is. So you click on email, new email, and you'll see it opens up in this area over here. Automatically, it will pick up my signature. Okay, so if it's there, it will pick it up and stick it in for me. And then you'll notice you've got basically your structure of your email. So pretty much what they showed us, you will see that there's your to block. All right, and it starts picking up people that I email, and the CC stands for carbon copy. In other words, when you're sending an email just for their information, they can respond if they really want to, but mostly it's for the person's information only, whatever the content is. And then, of course, we've got BCC, which is blind carbon copy. In other words, this is the one where you send, maybe, for example, you're sending it to HR, and then you BCCing your labor, your union, so that they can see you've sent something to HR, but you don't want HR to know that you've included the labor, for example. Okay, so that's what BCC stands for. It really means that whoever's in here will see the email, see all the information, but the other people, the C's and the two and the CC's, will not see that this person has also received it. Little bit tricky though, because I have seen this in a work situation where a person is BCC'd and then they respond to the email, then everyone here was then aware that, oh, this person got the email, but he wasn't here. Why? So it does create distrust. So it's not always a good rule of thumb to actually use BCC, in my opinion. But if there was a reason, maybe like labor and HR or something like that, then you could use it. All right, then there's a nice little feature that's come up as well. One of those new ones is called Schedule Send. So if you click on it, what we'll do is it'll actually say, okay, when do you want to send this email? So I can write it now, click on the Schedule Send button, and then it'll only send it at that date and time when it needs to go through. So that's quite an interesting feature. And yep, this is fairly newish. I haven't really played around with it. But yep, so this is something you could actually maybe even try out. Send yourself an email as a reminder and see what happens. Then you've got some little settings over here like delete or discard in this case. In other words, if you're doing an email, you don't need it anymore, you can just click on the discard button and just say, okay, and it basically deletes it for you. Okay, so it doesn't stay empty. Because every time you create a new email, it will go under your drafts. Okay, so drafts means it's an email that you've started, but you have not sent yet. Then the other useful option is this little guy over here called open in a new window. So if I click on it, what will happen is it's going to pop out and it will look like this as well. So this one, it's actually quite nice, especially depending on your screen size. This one's quite useful because now I can work quite easily, not in a bigger space, and I can actually then do an email. All right, so let's have a look then. What is required? Now, we watched those videos and they said the same things pretty much. So what is the first thing we need to know? Is we need to know who am I sending it to? So there we go. Now, you'll notice when I clicked here, it automatically starts looking. In other words, it builds up a history of who I normally communicate with. And then it says, most likely, these are the people you're going to want to email. But it doesn't always mean that's necessarily the case. So in other words, if I just type in a few letters, you'll see that the Active Directory then is going to start trying to guess who have I spoken to before. And then it sort of helps you guide yourself to finding somebody like this, for example. All right, so there we go. There's my supervisor. And then you see. So this is how this works. So if you don't know the person's full names or you don't know their email address, then this is one way to do it. So simply just typing in the person's name and then let the system basically find the person that you're referring to. So it is a useful way that you don't have to remember people's email addresses. As I said, so two, you can put it to everyone that needs to have the information. All right. So one thing with UNISA is, please, guys, if you've got a problem with registrations or applications or whatever it may be, ICT, don't go and send an email like this, finding everyone you possibly can find and then writing up the email and sending it. Why? Because everyone's going to receive this email and they all might not necessarily be the person dealing with this, so they'll ignore it. Or maybe these two colleagues are dealing with this type of problem, and now this one might be thinking this one might reply to it, depending on how busy they are, where they are, and then people might just ignore the email in itself. So the rule of thumb is please only send it to one person or one department. Okay, and if it is the wrong department or the wrong person, then hopefully that person then would respond back to you saying, okay, for this type of problem, this is the right person or department to contact. Okay, so yeah, please don't put as many emails as you can find, because most likely people might just ignore it and then you won't get a response. Then CC is for carbon copy. So for example, if we're working in a team and this is our let's say, for example, a line manager, then I send to Richard, say, hey, we're going to do 1, 2, 3. And then the line manager sees, okay, this task that I've signed these guys, okay, they honor it, for example. Okay, so that's how the CC works. So carbon copy just to see what's happening. And as I explained, BCC is the one where nobody will see what's going on. All right, then the subject. Now the subject is very important as well. So let me say here, my life email account. All right, so there we go. So if I look at this email, I already got an idea. It's got to do with ICT. It's my life email account. And of course, if it's a student, we put in a student number. And then at least Richard would really then know, okay, got an idea. This is the student number. So quite important information there already. The subject, guys, is not where you're meant to type the body of the email. In other words, I don't want to be seeing here, dear Richard, my name is, and you kind of get the idea what's going to happen. All right. So the subject is really short and sweet and to the point. The dear part comes in the body of the email, which is this part over here. I'm just going to delete my signature so it makes it a little bit blank. So what you guys would normally get, so here you would then say, dear Richard, and then type in the rest of the email. Now, just to make it a little bit quicker, for example, here I've just got some text that I want to put in. All right, I just want to delete the copy there. Okay, so for example, I just made a little bit of a quick example. So you put in dear Richard, so be polite. That's the first. Remember the rules that we spoke about last week about being a digital citizenship. Now we're applying those rules. So we're being polite. Thank you for your email. So I'm assuming then I would have replied to the person. If I've received an email, then I say thank you for the email they've sent. Then I'm explaining what the problem could be or the solution to the problem the user's experiencing. And then I'm giving some sort of instruction to follow. So do this, do this, do this, do this. And then at the end of the emails, you say kind regards or yours faithfully or whatever it may be. So that's a good example of the structure of an email. Now, in this case, so now, for example, if you are struggling with something, it's always a good idea to send a screen grab or screenshot, because that will also help the user on the other side understand exactly what you are seeing and what the problem could be. So how do we do that? Not a problem. We've got a nice little clip over here called attaching a file. So I'm going to click on him and let's have a look. Aha, remember there's OneDrive we did earlier this morning. There it is. So if I click on OneDrive, it's going to open my OneDrive. And there we go. There's the recent, there's the files, there's the shared by you, and all the rest of it. So there we go, guys. So you can see how important OneDrive is as well. So then I can simply go and select the file that I want to embed. So if you've got your evidence in your OneDrive, hopefully that's where you're going to store it from now on. You can then go and access it very easily there. So there's your recent, or you can go to files and go through all the folders and go find what you wanted to do. So there's our folder we created this morning. And there's S1, and there we go. So there's like some of the files. Okay, so this is the one way of doing it through your OneDrive. The other way is, let's go for the other way now. You could say upload or share or even a link. So it all depends on how you want to send the document across. In this case, it's evidence. So we're just going to say upload. And it's back to your normal little Windows upload that you guys have probably seen many, many times. And then you go to email invite, not that one. Okay, let me go to my desktop. So it's always good to know where you are. Okay, so there's my email. And let's say, for example, this is the instructions that I want to give to Richard. Then I say open. And then it says, do you want to upload? I say yes. Give it a few seconds. And there we go. So there at the bottom, then it's going to stick in my file because that's actually where it was located. Of course, this interface will look different depending on the device you're using. So it might not look as blocky as this one, but there you can see that attachment is at the bottom, right at the bottom. I could have just made a little bit of a space over there just to make it a little bit away. But that's now linking it to the OneDrive as well. Hey? So if I leave my mouse over there, you'll see it gives you the whole path where the file is located. So this is why it's so important to use OneDrive. It'll just make it a lot more easier. So there we go, guys. So that's basically how you structure your email, and then I can click on send and off it goes. So once I click on send, it's going to then, you'll see it very briefly. Let me just see in your outbox, and then from there it will disappear. Let me just scroll down. Okay, I don't even see the outbox in. Oh yeah, there's sent items. Okay, so once you've sent it, then you'll see your sent items, and then you'll see your email will be sitting over here. So once you click on send, it'll take a few seconds. It goes through your outbox, and then you'll see under sent items, your email then that you've just sent will be over here. So just to show you guys, I'll show Richard, you can delete it when you get it. So there, give it a few seconds, and then you'll see it's going to pop up, and there we go. So it's very quick. And now including the evidence. So when you guys have problems, try to remember your subject, keep it nice, brief, to the point, be polite, thank the person or appreciate the time, just to be polite, remember the citizen rules, write in what you're seeing, maybe have some steps if need be, and then you could say, okay, here's some more evidence to see what the problem is, as an example. Okay, so that's really how to structure an email and how to send it off. And it's quite fun to do. And it's, again, the evidence is nice. That's what we like about emails, because you got your evidence as well. Now, in this little block over here, you'll see that the ribbon has its own options. So in other words, if I select an email, you'll see then things come available to you. Hey, for example, there's your recycle bin. So if you don't need this, you can delete it. Okay, so like what we've done before. You can also archive. So in other words, an email that you want to archive means you want to keep for maybe in the future you would like to refer to it. Then it will stick it in the archive folder, this one over here. So if I click on this one, for example, I say archive, it's going to move it to the archive folder, and there we go. I actually see some of the emails that disappeared. I kind of see they were archived. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so then if you want to put them back again, you just click and drag, and you can drag it back to your inbox. That's one way to do it. Okay, so that's how you archive, guys. So those emails that you want to keep, maybe like a policy or a statement that you think maybe when it's tax return time, I might need this, maybe just archive that email for future use. Then you note in this folder. You'll see junk email. Now, this is what I was talking about. So what happens here is a person sends you an email, but because our firewall detect something that it doesn't like, then it will put it under junk email. For example, now this one is got to do with retirement. So it's actually something, it's not junk, but because maybe they're talking about money or a statement, or for whatever reason, the firewall thinks, okay, maybe this isn't genuine, then it throws it into junk email. So do check your junk email. Don't just delete everything. Carefully go and look, and you might find an email or two that you actually do need sitting in your junk. See, that also does tell you that I know who the sender is. The sender is the right person. I can say it's not junk. Click on OK, and then it's going to move it back into the mailbox where it should be. So the next time the person sends me an update for my statement, it will come straight here and not to junk. Okay, so that's quite important to remember. Then we've got some other things as well. Okay, you've got your report or your antivirus. So in other words, if you get an email coming to your inbox and you think that, well, you know, this is not, it's junk, all right, it's one of those scamming emails, or someone's trying to get your information, all right, then this is a good opportunity to click on report phishing. So be very careful once you do report it, because it can cause that user's account to be blocked at some point. And if it is an official thing, you might be blocking it from yourself. So yeah, be careful. But when you get that email that says, this is ICT, we want you to update your details, click on this link. And when you click on that link, it says, please type your username and your password. That is definitely not from UNISA. Just like a bank wouldn't ask you for a PIN, we will never ask you for your password or for you to enter your password into any form of anything of such nature. So then you just click there and you say report phishing. So it'll block that person from sending to you and also hopefully to anybody else that it picks up the same type of email, because they're trying to get your details. So that's how they hack your account and get into everywhere. So yeah, that's quite important to remember, and that's how you do it, guys. So you can also help us report those users. Then you've got Sweep. Now, Sweep is a nice just way of managing your emails, especially when you get a lot of emails. What we can do is, yeah, we can set up rules that allows you then to actually do something with those emails that, for example, comes from this person. So I'll just show you this a little bit later, how to actually set this up, just to sort of help manage your email box. Because if you just have an inbox, you might end up with a lot of emails, all right? So what this allows you to do is create a rule. So when an email comes in, it might put it into a folder, let's say your module code. For each module, you have your own little code. And then when you get your lecturer emailing you, then it goes into that folder. So it just helps you manage all the emails. So like your Windows Explorer, now we're just sort of doing it with emails. Okay, so it's a similar type of tool. So that's quite useful as well. Then you got your reply button and your reply to all button. So just remember, if you reply, you're only replying to the sender. When you reply to all, you're replying to everyone that received the email that you also received. Okay, so just remember, between reply is one person, the sender. Reply to all means everyone that received it, excluding BCC. Okay, it does not include BCC at all. Then also there's your forward. So in case I get an email and I say, oh, Richard didn't get this one, then I click on forward, just like the video explained, then I can send it along to him, including the attachments. So that also helps. Then we've got the quick steps. Okay, so this is your pretty much works with the Sweep, where you can actually set up how your email mailbox will do things for you. So if you get internal communication, okay, so you give it a name. You say, okay, so whenever I get an email from this person, I would like you to then, and let's see, forward it to, or reply to. So you've got a whole bunch of options. Move to. Now you just need to think, okay, I'm going to move it then to a folder called, and now I need to go create a folder quickly. Let's call it Intcom to make it nice and simple. All right, so every time I get an email from this sender, it's automatically going to take the email and send it into this folder for me from now onwards. Okay, so I click on save. And there we go. So we've created our own little rule. And of course, you can go edit it, and you can also go delete it if necessary. And of course, you can create a whole bunch of rules. So you can actually do this for each module, create a folder that when that email comes from the lecture goes to that module for you. So it just makes it easier to organize what happens over here. So instead of just having inbox, the bazillion emails, now you can sort of separate it like that. So this is very, very useful. The other thing that's very useful as well is definitely forwarding. Now, what does it mean to forward? So what happens is with your MyLife email account, you can actually set it up. So if you're using your Gmail a little bit more, all right, but you don't go to MyLife as often, but you are accessing Gmail or your work email account, you can actually type in your personal or work email account over here. And when an email comes in, it will automatically forward to this email address. Okay, and then you'll get it. So this lecture has sent you this information. Now you know, okay, I've got information. Just take note of this little option here. If this option is not here, That means when an email comes in, it's going to delete it after forwarding. So your mailbox then is going to be empty because it receives an email, forwards it onto your personal email, and then it deletes it. So just take note. And we also get students saying, no, but why is all my emails gone? It's because they didn't select this option over here. So put in your personal email. But now here's the catch, guys. It's fine. You can set this up and it works beautifully. But when you reply to the university or you contact the university, you're going to have to log into your MyLife email account and email from there. Because forwarding is going to send it to your work or your personal, fine. You might then respond from your personal email. Again, UNISA wants you to reply from your MyLife email account. So take note of that. Okay, so it's nice to know, but just take note there is a little bit of a catch to this one. So remember. All right, and then of course you've got auto replies. So in other words, you'll see this quite often when you send an email. Here's the example. From this date to this date, please send out a message saying that I'm not available and this is the person you can contact. I do see some students are actually using this feature now, where you can basically set the date and the time from when it must start and when it must end. And you can even block people from making appointments in your calendar, which I'm still going to show you how the calendar works. And you can even cancel and delete or decline, meetings during this period. So if someone tries to set up a meeting with you, it will just say, no, this user is not available. So this is quite useful as well to know, setting up your automatic reply. So when you go on holiday, you can say, I'm on leave now and see you next year when I get back. Okay, and of course, you can then just type in your message and things like that. Of course, you've got all the formatting that you can use. So also in your emails, you can also use that formatting as well. I'm not going to set that up because I'm currently working. All right, so there's quite a bit of useful information sitting in here as well. You've also got some information about your calendar. So these are your basic settings that you can go and work through and change. I know students tend to ask about the time zone. It should really be set up correctly, but depending, maybe if you move to a different country and you need to change the time zone, this is where you can actually do it for your calendar as well. Or you can add multiple. You can have many, many different types of time zones, depending where you're working or what you're doing. All right, so this is type of things you can go and customize. Again, all of this stuff is sitting in Microsoft Learn, so you really can go and explore these features as well. All right, so then unread and read. Now, this is quite a useful option, especially if you've got a shared mailbox and you've got lots of colleagues using the same one, like we do have, like the FYE one, for example, the Adolf mailbox. So if an email comes in and I read it, because once I click on it, you'll see it goes into read mode. In other words, I've read it. Okay, like let's say I'm opening, I read it, nice, then I'm done. But maybe Richard might need to read it. Then I can always use this option here just to indicate unread, which means the other user then can still come and read it if need be. That's one way to do it. Or the other option is you can actually go and flag it. You'll see that little red flag over there. Okay, so that also means it's something important, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm maybe going to respond to it later on. Like here, you can see for next week's virtual orientation session. So these two are flagged, which means I still need to go check and see what's going on or what responses I might need to do. So it's a nice way of just reminding you and highlighting that this email, you still need to deal with it. Then, of course, you've got the other option. You can also pin it. All right. So if you pin it, you'll see it always goes right on top. So like now I could actually do this instead of using the flag option just to bring these emails to the top. So it doesn't matter how many emails I've got, but here on the top, then I know that these ones that I need to pin or deal with, they're right here on top of my inbox. Okay, so it's, again, easy to find, especially if you get like 100 emails in a day, it can get very, very busy. So then you can just unpin them as well when you're done. So that's quite useful as well. And of course, then you've got some other features in like blocking. So if you get an email, pretty much like what we showed you, but you're not going to sort of report it, but you just want to block the person, then you can block the sender or never block the sender. Especially like people that send you maybe your bank statement, you say never block the statement because you might want to see that information. So blocking also does help. So people that annoy you, that send you lots of emails that's got absolutely nothing that you're interested in, you can just go and block them. And of course, there's the rules, like I showed you, where you can actually help organize your mailbox. But these ones do take a bit of time, so don't get too excited with them. It's easy because they can become a little bit complicated, and yeah, you might struggle then to find where all your emails will be going to. So just take note of rules, not too much of a train smash. Then, of course, with your Outlook comes your calendar. They kind of work together. Okay, so yeah, you can see where we are today. Actually been quite a nice week for me. So there we go. So there's your calendar. Of course, you can create a new event. There you can create a new email, or you can create an event or bookable time. So it gives you all these options, which allows you then to basically create something like this. So you can give it a name. Then you can invite your attendees. Again, you need to know the email address, or if you just know some of the data, just go and select them. You can say the date and the time. Right, okay, I see here on this side now, it's really telling me that there's a problem, and I'm going to show you how to resolve this in a short second. It gives us suggested times. It's actually quite cool as well. So it's actually saying, I'm looking at this person's calendar and your calendar, and I'm seeing what's available and when are you available. Okay, so that's quite nice, because then I can see on this date and this time, this is when we are actually available according to the scheduling assistant. So this is AI, guys, working to check both calendars or at how many people you've got, and it actually then converts and tries to figure out who's available when. So let me put Denzel in, because I know he's extremely busy. So let's see if we got a date and time that we're actually all available. So yeah, there we go. So AI doing the job for us, finding the time and date when all of us are available at the same date and time. So that's pretty cool. So that's really nice. And then, of course, you've got Scheduling Assistant, which is pretty much the same tool I've just showed you. The only difference is it shows you like each day of the week, like this format, where then you can then sort of scroll up and down and see what's going on. All right, so yeah, that's also a nice way of actually setting up an event or training event or a calendar event that you would like to invite people for. Although the spelling there is atrocious. Okay, let me correct it. And there we go. All right, so then you can type it in. You can type in a message as well. I know the location. You'll notice that lots of the time it's MS Teams. You see, there we go, guys. Office wants to know my location, so I can say allow. Okay, so that does pop up quite often. Also, like Richard indicated with your exam, the proctoring apps, same tool, same system. Okay, then again, so basically here you can type in exactly what the message or the meeting is going to be about, or some sort of brief or agenda. You can stick it in here, and it's a Teams meeting. So do join us next week, because we need to look at Teams and how to set up meetings and how to join meetings. So that's also very important for your studies. All right, and then once I'm done, all I'm going to do is send it. So it uses my Outlook to send the event, the calendar event, and then the colleagues then will be able to accept or reject that, or tentative to say if they're available or not. So I'm just going to say discard. I'm not going to keep it. And right, there we go. So that's basically how the calendar event works. So there is some features you can also change. In other words, the work week or the month, and you can even filter it depending, and of course print it, but we don't really print anymore. So yep, so that's how that works. I just see Outlook is a little bit slow. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's the nutshell, everything that you need to know, guys. But now, of course, it's very important. Please don't forget this. Go back to your course. And remember, once you've worked through Introduction to Email, as I said, there are some extra things you can go and learn. Watch the videos. If you're comfortable, please then go and do the activity itself. And as I said, we've given you the steps, so you can follow the steps. And please then do post your answers right at the bottom. But again, just remember, if you're not doing a print screen, please do just say advanced. Also, there is a very nice little video clip, or sound clip, sorry, about email etiquette. So it's about 7 minutes or so. So please do go and listen to this as well. It will definitely add some value. So I see we do have one student already. So yeah, so don't forget to do your activities. They're quite important. Of course, you want to get that certificate from Microsoft as well. All right, so yes, that's it from my side. I'm going to hand back now to Denzel and Richard, so we can then wrap up for today. Thanks, colleagues.
Thank you, David, for the introduction to Outlook. I think all of you now learned. I think most of the questions were answered. Just in case you missed that one, I saw about putting in a signature. So you just click on this gear at the top and you go to compose and reply. And here you can create a new signature. Just remember to give it a name. You put in your signature here, and then you have to select which one do you want to send it just for to new messages or to replies as well. So generally, if you've got a signature here, I'm going to make it here signature, and you give it a name, say main signature. I'm just want to make it regards Richard. Just to remember, once you add it here, then you have to select. Let me just save it quickly. Then you have to select, I want to send my main signature when I compose a new mail and when I reply. So, you know, if I reply, it includes it. So I never have to type this again. I know it will always be at the bottom of what I'm writing. Just another one. I know for a lot of people, English is our second language. Now, sometimes, especially you want to compose a very formal email very quickly. Maybe you don't have the correct words. So a good way to do it, if you are using Microsoft Edge, there's this Bing feature here at the top. So if I open up the chat there, you have to be signed in with your MyLife account as well. So here you can actually start writing or start with a chat with Microsoft Bing. Let me just quickly log in here with Microsoft Bing. Where is it? Refresh. Just go, yeah. Okay, so let me say I want to start a chat. I don't know why it's not giving me on this one. Let me try this one. So if I'm in my mail, I just select chat at the top, and you can ask it, for instance, please write a formal email to my lecturer called Prof. Mahanu to please ask for an extension to my assignment that I was unable to submit due to connectivity issues. So, you know, instead of, you know, you can write it here in plain language. I asked it to write it formally for my lecturer. So it will actually then create a response for me for that specific email. So it's just a quick way, you know, if English is your second language, but you want to make it, you know, send a formal email, it will type for you this email. Dear Prof. Mahano, hope this email finds you well. I am writing to request an extension on the assignment that was due on, it will even give you here, insert the date. Unfortunately, I was unable to submit the assignment due to connectivity issues. I understand that this may cause inconvenience, and I apologize for any inconvenience caused. I have been working hard on the assignment and would appreciate an extension of, you know, insert number of days to complete it. Thank you for your understanding and support. So, you know, a lot of times you might not come up with all these words, or you've got the words in your own language, your home language. So this is a quick way to write formal emails to your lecturers, and hopefully you will get a lot better response also from your lecturers than if you just wrote to I lost connectivity, I couldn't submit. So just make it a little bit more formal, especially in the academic sense and when you're working in the work environment as well. So make use of this tool. It's available at the top of Edge. You can ask it just to quickly help you write things in a more formal manner. So there was some questions as well. The one question that we had was, how do I install these apps to my computer? So remember, you just need to visit portal.office.com. Let me just give you the link here. I'll put it in the chat. So if you visit portal.office.com, you log in with your MyLife email address, and then at the top right, it will usually takes a bit of a time to load, but there will be this button, Install Apps. So from here, you can install Microsoft 365 apps. So this will be Outlook, OneDrive, for Business, Word, Excel, basically everything to your computer. So remember, if you're using a mobile device, it will take you to the Apple Google Play Store or Apple Store, where you can also then download it to your device, and you can also just sign in with your MyLife. So remember, when you download these apps and or software to your computer, always sign in with your MyLife email address, because that's what gives you the license for that software. And then I think there was a question as well. How do I share my Outlook files or OneDrive files? So remember, if you go to OneDrive, you want to share this file. So for instance, I've got a folder here. You can just select this share button next to the file, and I can just select copy link. And this will generate a link for me that you can go and paste into the activity. So remember, this is the online version. You have to click on the share, or you can click on this ellipsis at the end and click share, or just copy link, because we just want the link for this. It will tell you there anyone with the link can view. And this is the one that you paste into the activity. On your computer, all you need to do is in your OneDrive, let me just do this one, for instance, go to a file, you right click on it. So remember, these text or those icons on the side will give a good indication if you're logged into your OneDrive and it's syncing. So you just right click on a file, you select OneDrive, and you say also copy link. So it's very easy from both of them. It's just the same method. Go to share, copy the link, and this is the link that you share. Now, there was one other question as well. Let me just quickly exit this activity over here. How do you add more OneDrive accounts? So now say you've got a work OneDrive account and you've got a personal account and say now the university account. So what you do is on your computer, there should be a cloud icon, a little blue cloud icon. Now, if you're using a Mac, it will usually be at the top if you installed OneDrive. So if you click on this cloud over here, you click on settings, and then you go to account. And you can see here you can add accounts. So you can actually have quite a lot of accounts. So even groups that you join, you can sync the files from groups as well. So if you've got a work account and a student account, just come here, click on the settings, add account, and you can add them. I just want to show you what it looks like in your Explorer. So if you added, for instance, a personal account and the University of South Africa account, and maybe you've got a work account as well, then it will say, for instance, Vodacom or wherever you're working. So you can have all these different OneDrive's account linked to one. And as you move between them, it will automatically change, how can I say, the permissions to who can access those files as well. So just remember, for all those that are working already or have personal accounts, you can have both of them. So you can use the one just for your studies, one perhaps just for your personal files, and then one for your work as well. So if you've got multiple Microsoft 365 accounts, this is how you can add them. So I'm just quickly going to close this one. I hope we will look at the comments. If there's anything that we missed that we perhaps can address in the next session as well. We are 5 minutes currently to our due date or due time. So I just want to, in this last few minutes, just reinforce, please join next week. Next week, we're going to have a very busy session. So please, during this week, go and test out the activities that we have done. We will upload the recording. So next week, when we dive into Word, we can go very quickly through Word, how to create an assignment document, how you can do the spell checking, the grammar, all of those additional tools that you can use in Word. We're also going to be looking at Sway, how you can create a portfolio that you can share with everybody, how you can use the PowerPoint Designer tool to quickly create a PowerPoint presentation. And then also we'll give you introduction to Teams, how to join a team and create perhaps a meeting if you want to connect with somebody. And for all of these, we will look at all the tools that can assist you, with comprehension, how do you can consume the information easier, and even for instance, like here the Bing, how you can use this new AI tools to help you quickly structure emails or different paragraphs as well. But thank you everybody for joining today. And I hope it's getting warmer where you are. I know the whole country is very cold, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and you do the activities on the site. We'll see you all next week. Thank you, David, and everybody from the ADOBH team as well for joining and assisting in the chats. Bye, everyone.
Bye, colleagues. Keep safe and warm.
Hi, David. Hi, Richard. Sophie and Tatenkuna.
Hi, Jeff.
Are you all good, guys? Yes.